I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome, everyone. A quick reminder to please silence your cell phones. First order of business, public announcements. Details may be found at www.fairfield-me.gov. There are still vacancies on several boards and committees. To apply, visit the town office or town website for the appointment application. Elections, a special annual town budget meeting will be held on Tuesday, September 8, 2026, for voters to vote by secret ballot on the amended articles that failed to pass at the June 9th annual town budget meeting. You can now request an absentee ballot for the September 8th special election ballots will be available 30 days prior to the election. Nomination papers for the offices of Town Council Member, 1 3-year term, and Kennebec Water District Trustee, 1 3-year term, will be available at the town office beginning Tuesday, July 28, 2026. The Lawrence Public Library Chess Club Informational Meeting, August 10th at 2 p.m. Summer Reading Wrap-Up Party with Tickles the Clown, August 13th at 2 p.m. Patron passes to the Coastal Maine Botanical Gardens and the Children's Discovery Museum are available. Please call the library for more information. Second order of business, public hearings. To hear public comments on the annual town budget, Articles 1 and 2 for the fiscal year 26-27. At this time, 6:34, we open for public comment. Please, if anybody would like to speak, please come to the podium. Is there a sign-in sheet there?
Yes.
Please sign the sheet, state your name and address, please.
I'm Dee Dee Bureau. I live on the Oakland Road in Fairfield Center. How does this, explain to me how this comes about that there's a special meeting and a special election, or vote, I should say.
So we had 2 articles that didn't pass out of our total budget. There were 26 or 27 articles.
Right.
2 of them didn't pass. Article 2, which is a combination of administration, insurance, general assistance, election, and legal. And then also our capital reserve article That did not pass, so we have to put that back up for another vote at a different amount until that budget passes. We have 1 year for those articles to pass. Michelle, do I have that correct?
Yes, the charter allows you to operate off from last year's appropriation until that passes.
So until those articles pass, well, we will operate on last year's budget totals.
So when they didn't get approved, then you decide to have another election? Why?
Because we need those articles to pass. The voters,
Well, the taxpayers are struggling in this town. My Social Security doesn't go up, but my taxes, when there's already going to be an increase, I'm going to be paying over $4,000 a year to live in this town. Thankfully, I don't have a mortgage, but what about the young people that do? Or the elderly people that live across the street from me that have to work a second job? How they're going to have to struggle to pay for oil this year? You know how much that's going to cost? I know, but we need a think tank in this town to try to save money and consolidate some services, because we can't keep spending, spending, spending. We just don't have it. I'm going to get priced out of my home. I've lived in this town for 25 years, been happy here, but I'm not happy with what I'm paying for taxes. And it seems to me when people don't like what's going on, they just add these special elections until they shove them down our throat. And furthermore, the time of this vote is right after Labor Day. People are just getting back from summer. Half of them are still on vacation. 90% of the people that got this mail out probably didn't even read it. So I don't agree with a special election. If you're going to add something to the wheel, do it during a regular election, like in November.
So I think too, if I may, Sharon.
Please.
I think to answer part of your question, why we're doing the special election and how, so what happened was it failed at the ballot. So the town council had to get back together, look at our budget again, figure out, okay, why did these two articles fail? Where can we make changes? So we sat, we had a meeting, came up with some changes, some cuts, and then the budget committee also came in. Those are
I know who they are. I sat on it for 4 years.
Yep, and then, so you understand, then the budget committee came in and reviewed what we did, made recommendations back to the council. We took their recommendations, in fact, they were the same as ours, and lowered some of these and put it back onto the ballot.
It's not helping the people in the town.
Dee Dee, we also
I'm
need
telling
to
you.
commit taxes, so by charter, we have to continue to present this to the voters until we can get these articles to pass before June 30th of next year. We need
Can you
these.
do it at a time that's not right after Labor Day?
So I would
People are on summer break.
I would just like to comment on a couple things here. First, I feel your pain. My taxes are going to go up to almost $9,000 a year. I will speak for everybody on the council that we are trying everything that we can from the town's perspective to do what we can with our budget. And I know you're probably aware of this, but for the people who are not, the huge driving up of our taxes, my taxes, everybody's taxes, came from the school budget. And unfortunately, we have no control over that at the town council. It's 58, almost 60%. So every $100 that we're taxed, $60 of those is going to the school. 30 is coming from the town. So we're trying to cut it. And I understand the frustration about, and we had a discussion at town council meeting 1 or 2 meetings ago about how best to do this. We used to do it, as you know, in the town meeting format where it was a show of hands. And sometimes we would, I mean, I think the last year we had, I forget what the number of voters were, but it was abysmal at best. Going back to this vote, keep in mind that we can vote up to 30 days. I think it's 30 days early. We can go into the town office and vote 30 days. So we have a 30-day window to do that so that we can start paying our bills with the town. So that's why we set it up that way.
Yeah, but the people that didn't read this mail out, that don't realize that this vote is coming, I was just at the town office registering my car, and I saw no notice up. You know, people aren't informed.
So there was a
Half people saw that and they probably thought it was junk mail, legalities. I happened to read them. But still, I don't think it's an appropriate time for the vote.
So Dee Dee,
It's September
we do
2nd.
need to be able to commit taxes. Usually, your tax bill's going out about this time. We can't commit taxes because we don't have two of these articles approved by the voters yet. And these two articles that are presented to you again that failed, Article 2, which is our administrative, again, it's more than just administration. It's insurance, general assistance, elections, and legal. We account differently than other towns do. I mean, this includes our code enforcement, our building and insurance vehicles. That portion of the budget is up roughly $30,000. The bulk of that is our IT budget. We had Waterville for our IT service, and they dropped us. So we had to submit that out for bid, and it came in a lot higher than we were paying Waterville for that service, and all our departments use it, whether it's police, public works, fire, the town office. IT is a vital portion of our administrative budget. So that article is almost flat from the year prior. And the other article, the capital reserves, which is primarily for building improvements and public works and police capital reserves, so that we can replace dump trucks, police cars, things like that.
We have the best of the best in this town. There's no relics
We cut
going down the
that,
road.
we've cut that portion of the budget by 20,000 off the previous year. So
That's not a
between
lot of
these,
money.
between these two, but again, as Councilor Kitchen tried to point out to you, the bulk of our increase is due to basically two articles that passed overwhelmingly. Delta hit us with about a 70% increase for their services, and we hired 2 additional firemen, and that's the bulk of the $600,000 municipal increase. As Councilor Kitchen mentioned earlier, the school came in at a $1.1 million increase, and that passed unanimously. That is the bulk of your taxes. So when you get your tax bill, it's made up of 3 different portions: municipal, county, and school. The school portion is roughly 58%, county is 11, 12%. The rest of that is your municipal budget. We're taking the brunt of this because of the 2 articles.
Personally, I didn't want the extra Delta ambulance and all that. Now, where are we going to put it?
We
Where are we going
don't,
to house it?
we don't have a choice. They charge a per capita fee per citizen, and that's the way it is. If we want ambulance service, that's what we have.
Well, we could have maybe done something different. I don't know. But I'm just saying, there's things that I don't want to get passed.
But those articles
not just
already,
me.
Dee Dee, those articles already passed.
I know they did.
They're approved, they're in that portion of the budget. We
But what if
do
this
feel your
doesn't
pain.
pass?
In one of our meetings recently, when we knew what the difference in the mill increase was going to be, we actually put all 5 of the town council members' tax bill on the board for everybody to see. Couldn't be more transparent, so that everybody knows we are in the same boat as all the citizens that we represent. We're doing our best, but there are things beyond the municipal portion of the budget that we're not in control of.
I understand that, but we need to have a think tank in this town. We just aren't getting enough tax. People aren't coming in to live in Fairfield. They're not building, very few are building in Fairfield. They're putting in mobile homes. Whoa, that's a big lot of tax money. People aren't building. There's a reason for that. There's a reason because of what the services are and the economy, and the amount that we're paying for taxes in this town is a lot. And we need a think tank. And
I agree.
I would say one more thing that I personally would like to see, that people who vote for municipality stuff, that their name is on the tax bill, not that they're a resident that rents and whatnot, that gets these things passed, because we're paying the bill, not them. I would like to see something like that on a referendum. Only people's name that appear on the tax bill get to vote where the money is spent. And then maybe things would get better. But people bring their adult kids and their cousins' kids and all the people that rent in apartments to these meetings and votes, and things get passed that the people that pay the taxes really aren't fond of. So this is what I'm saying. There's got to be a way to have a think tank in this town to consolidate or to just work out some things that people that are voting for this aren't paying for it.
So I would say I hear this every day when I talk to people. And if you have seen some of the work by the council over the last year, there's a lot being done on economic, we hear you. There's a lot being done on economic development. So we're trying to expand that tax base. So, and if you see, actually, if you drive around Fairfield, there are a number of houses being built. It's kind of, I like to see that out in Fairfield Center. There's out on 201. There's a lot of work being done. The old Fairfield Primary will be redeveloped. You know, those are things that are happening. And so I think we continue to work at that all the time. We hear you. I mean, my tax bill is going up the same as...
I have 1 acre of land, not 20 or
Yep.
40 or
Yep,
100.
And we're all going to feel it, and I understand that. So I think we are continuing to work every time. This council is probably the best council I have been on since I started about addressing the future of Fairfield and trying to increase business growth, trying to increase development from housing, trying to look at the overall structure. And so I think we're going to need to continue to work. The other part that we have to work on is working with the school district to see, working with them at the beginning point to make sure that we're on the same page with them, have them understand where we are. That they have to do what they have to do the best for the school. And that's where their job is. Our job is to try to do the best for our taxpayers. And we, somewhere in there, we have to work on compromises. So there's a lot I have to do on, I feel that we have to do a lot on regionalization work, and that's really where our answer is going to be. But that's going to be a continual process. And we hear you. I don't know what else to say other than I am going to pay too. I don't like it any more than you do. We need to continue to work hard to try to reduce that and keep things stable. I think that's where we see over the next couple of years.
I'm on fixed income.
Yeah, and that's where
On disability,
and that's
my
why
taxes keep going up.
And that's where I talk to people every day. I had a woman who was rationing her insulin every other day, every third day. That is the kind of story we
Those
hear.
are the people I'm speaking for.
Yeah, and those
my neighbors.
Yep, and that's why we need to continue to look at how do we work with the state on things like homestead exemption? How do we think about those kind of things? That's where we need to continue to work, and we need to do our due diligence to try to reduce those taxes. And I think that's one of the programs that we're working through our fire department, working with some other areas that we're going to stay, and some of the contracts, and some of the contracts going forward, that we are keeping things stable. You won't see those increases. So
we're top heavy.
So we are working.
Every town, Waterville's cutting 20 jobs in their municipality because they have too top heavy. I don't know. It doesn't have anything to do with us.
Right,
this is something that we need to think about.
Their tax rate's going up way higher. So I think we continue to work hard at it.
You mentioned one thing about renters and non-taxpayers voting. Well, that's the way the state works. Unfortunately for us, a municipality can only raise money through property taxes. We don't control, again, county, although we've got excellent representation. Councilor Thibodeau sits on our budget board. Robert Sazak is our rep for the county for Fairfield. They do a fantastic job of keeping that budget nearly flat. We don't see a lot of those services, but that's your registry of deeds, your jails, county, everything county. And we're the second highest taxpayer for a county in Somerset County, only behind Skowhegan. When we talk about, you're talking about a per capita tax, which we've learned basically from Delta. We know how many residents we have because that's how we pay for that service. Unfortunately, that's not how the state recognizes property taxes. That landlord gets taxed on their property value, no different than a out-of-state landowner or a second home, commercial businesses. Unfortunately, that's the way taxes are raised. So when you talk about that think tank, we have economic development. We've recently done a lot of discussion with our goals for the upcoming years. We talk about moving our focus off from Main Street, focusing on our 3 interstate exits. a bedroom community, developing residential housing. Dr. Townsend mentioned there's a big project going up on 139. It's actually two projects on 139. You've got some solar development, 201. So we're trying to think outside the box on how we get that down. At the end of the day, for this particular budget, the state of Maine gave SAD 49 a big haircut in what the state funds for education, and the school board did what they had to do to provide the services that they feel are necessary for our school kids, and that passed on a large local burden to our taxpayers. That is where the bulk of your taxes are going up. But like Councilor Kitchen mentioned, at Old Town Meeting format with 40 to 50 people show up, the same thing happens at the school when they meet in May. They set that ballot warrant, and it goes for the referendum in June. It's a yes or no vote. You know, we do our due diligence to try to inform our taxpayers how much the school budget is going up in a dollar amount, but you don't see that when you get into the voting booth like you do on our articles,
Right.
right? But that's how the process works. So until that gets
It's
changed.
flawed. It's flawed.
But people
Big
have,
time.
people have the ability to go to the school board meetings. They get to go and vote on that warrant amount before it gets presented to the referendum vote, and they're not doing it.
No, because look, how many people are here and how many people live in the town? You got a handful of people that care, that want to lower taxes for those other people, but they don't care enough to show up or to get involved. I sat on the budget committee for 4 years, and they did things in bulk, then they did them singularly because I didn't like it. I wanted to know where every penny was going. But there's things that we can do as a community, and I want to see a think tank developed for the taxpayers to bring forth some ideas. We can consolidate. We're paying for dinosaur buildings that are astronomically expensive to heat and maintain. And we got this building, and I don't believe it supports itself.
We are working on all of what you just mentioned. All of that is in the works, every bit of it. That think tank that you keep talking about, we just set our goals and standards in our last two meetings, and we wanted to present it to the taxpayers to get their input. What do you want your councilors to do? We got not one single advice or input of what our citizens want us to do, and we beg for it.
Well, I'll talk to you any day.
Well, you need to put more information out about that.
Amen. Got to talk to the taxpayers before you put actions in motion. You got to be open with the public beforehand.
You can step to the podium and we will address you, please.
Love to when she's done.
Yeah? Thank you, Dee Dee.
My name is Carson Hersey, and I'm born and raised Fairfield, Maine. I'm young, but I would like to retire here. I believe that this town owes the public, those who are born and raised here want to retire here young, the common decency to be vocal and honest with the public about what's actually going on in the town, rather than making plans behind the scenes, then putting it out to the public before the damage is done, because it does actually affect those who live here. And whether it's for the sake of the town or not, I think town ought to be clear with everyone and be honest, because that's something that I was taught from born and raised, and I believe in God, and I think this town mostly does. I believe that we ought to treat each other with respect, as we want to be treated respectfully. I think the town ought to treat us respectfully. I am going to be at more of these meetings all across the board, because I found out the town, you want to keep saying you got action in motion for a new building. That entails ripping down my house, and I'm not having that. My uncle's house, whom I rent off of. I think the town ought to be clear what your plan for a fire station, EMT, and a new town situation is, because someone who's born and raised, you're going to screw the little people and wait for it all to be said and done. I think that's wrong. And I might be screwing my uncle saying this, but I'm born and raised and I'm here to stay, and I think you ought to be truthful with people rather than answering everyone's questions and no one has an idea of what the heck I'm talking about. I didn't know till a couple days ago. And I'm 23, about to be 24, and scared how long till I got to find a house and everything that's going wrong. I think the town ought to be clear with their citizens rather than waiting to put out a secret little vote when no one even knows what the fine print means unless you're at every single meeting, which is unrealistic, because I go to bed at 5 p.m. and I'd stay up an hour and a half past my bedtime to come to this meeting, because most of us don't work the 9 to 5 that the town does. I just think you ought to be more clear. And I'm going to shut up and sit down and get more information, because I think you ought to get all the information before you. But from the information I have, it looks very shady from the town I used to love so much, and I still do, and I defend the Facebook warriors, but I don't want to be one. But from the way the town's treating me and mine, it's pretty wrong.
So Carson, I've known you a long time,
Yes, sir.
and I've always respected you, and I've always been honest with you. So what are you seeing? What makes you believe that? So what have you talked to? Have you actually asked one of us? Have you actually sat
Matt, I
down?
wanted to talk to you after this meeting one-on-one,
Yeah, sure.
but after
That'd be
seeing the
wonderful.
way that
So
everyone's responded, it's quite irritated me.
There has been, everything we have done has been in open town meetings, open committee meetings. Everything has been put online, meeting notes. That's all
But
there.
I'm a 23-year-old guy, and I'm not on social media all the
Yeah,
time.
but no,
Everyone
this-
thinks that my generation is. I found out about this by going to the town office because I ran off my uncle, and I met with Michelle to find out about signs to be put up so the softball parents who pay thousands of dollars for their kids not park on the town line. And I found out that my uncle could be getting an offer soon for the town for this 3-story building in the back. That would entail him being bought out,
So-
and my neighbor who is
so that-
elderly, her husband's passed away, and it's just wrong.
So
And I think that's stuff that
I
should
think
be put
Peter
on
can
Facebook
talk to that
versus
on-
just the numbers.
So I think Peter can talk to that on the building committee. But that is a program that is way in the future.
You say that, but being a 23-year-old kid
No,
whose
no,
credit is
no, but
amazing.
I'm talking
because
about, so I'm talking about.
It takes
this-
years for my
so-
credit
yeah,
to be built,
but-
and you need
right,
amazing
so-
credit to get an
so-
apartment
So I'm just talking
nowadays.
about, so I'm just talking about the possibility of building a new municipal building, right? So that isn't even, there is no contract signed, there is no building plan done, there is, all there are rough schematics of like, this could be a possibility.
But that's
So that-
something that should be open.
But it was. But it was.
everyone, exactly.
But so.
Exactly.
So.
But we're going to wait for it to be out to the public. for everything to be said and done.
Okay,
So how would you
I understand the
propose that
passion. I
happens?
want to reel this
It's
in
not
because
passion, it's my real life, because
No,
I don't
but-
have amazing
so
credit.
how-
Do I have
Carson,
to look
this-
for a camper on Facebook Marketplace?
this is a
by
public
law,
hearing
hopefully?
on Article 2 and these two votes that we need to take
But you're
on.
responding about this building specifically. In reality, everything will be said and done. So I will shut up and I'll keep going to meetings.
I'm not
but
responding
in
about,
reality, it's still
I'm
all shady
responding about the
actively without the way
budget.
you're
I'm trying to
responding.
answer questions about these two articles that have not passed. And because you have
Sit down.
concerns about other things, we're trying to do our due diligence out of respect and answer your questions. But that's a different,
Well, obviously, you people know me. I'm Jeff Pellerin from 59 Oakland Road. And I think the bottom line is, a lot of us are really not happy, and I understand that you're working as hard as you can. And even if I was on the committee, we'd probably be working just as hard as we can. And we need more infrastructure or other plans that can bring more tax base in. But talk about the school budget. This brand-new school, we were gonna sell 2 schools, and this was going to be federal money. Turn it around, and we got a whacking. So, I don't know if that comes down from the state, because I don't like our governor, never did, and I hope she's listening. But I got a couple bottom lines here that, my taxes went up in the last 3 years, $2,113. And then now it's expected to go up, I don't know, we've been calculating anywhere between $750, $800, $900, another $1,000. And now you want to hit us with another tax on this referendum here. I'm talking about the ambulance one, was 3 mills, right? Is it still 3 mills?
no, Jeff, do you mind if I correct you? The 3 mil is the total increase of the entire budget, county, municipal, and school.
Okay.
The bulk of that is the school.
Okay.
The bulk of the municipal increase, which is roughly about 650,000, it's roughly about 1 mil. The bulk of that is through hiring 2 new firemen and the increase in Delta. That is the bulk of our municipal increase. And we have a plan, hopefully, to fix that within the next year. But without being able to offer our own EMS service, we have a contract with Delta for our ambulance service, and they do a fantastic job. But due to other towns that pulled out of their district, specifically Waterville and Winslow, Delta had to go to a per capita fee on all the remaining municipalities in their district because of Medicaid, Medicare reimbursement, and losing all those calls from the Waterville Winslow. They no longer can provide that service.
So ultimately, it all came up to 3 mil, right? Roughly the last meeting we were here?
The 3 mil, again, is not
That's
the
overall.
municipal. These articles we're talking about are specifically administration and our capital reserve.
This one, this particular meeting we're here for tonight, right?
Yep.
Is that another mill?
No. No, we have
How
cut.
much, what is it approximately, how's it going to affect us?
It's
How
a-
much?
These two articles combined
Yeah.
are about an increase of $12,000 over the prior year's budget,
Okay.
completely. Your total municipal budget is up roughly $652,000. That is primarily through our fire department, because we hired 2 additional fire, or we will be hiring. That's been approved already. And Delta, who, that has also been approved already. They increase their per capita fees so they can continue to offer the services that they offer.
All right.
And our taxpayers already voted for this.
Oh, they voted for it, but they didn't know the price of it.
Yes, they did. We've been,
No, it wasn't on the vote, it wasn't on, you don't put it on the ballot.
yes, we did.
It was.
Every article that we placed
I
forward,
voted, I didn't see the price on the ballot for the ambulance service.
every single part of our warrant,
Well, the school budget wasn't on there.
the school bar was a yes or no vote.
Yeah, okay,
That
that was
was
the
done
one. No number, just yes or no.
That was done at a meeting in May.
Yeah.
Again, same format. They set a warrant, and then that goes to referendum in June. And this year, instead of town meeting
All right,
being,
I've heard enough, bud. Okay, why did they tar your road twice in 3 years?
What did what?
Tar the 6-rod road twice in 3
They
years?
did the base, and then they shimmed it.
they put a base
Top coat.
in a top layer. I don't know how else to explain it. It was,
The town doesn't have the equipment to do it. They put a road in 2 years ago. They didn't service it until this year. Service it. They can't resurface it.
I don't get it. I mean, it must have been millions.
I'm going to let Michelle answer that,
Anyway,
because she
anyway, I've
deals
been
directly with
wondering-
public works, so
We
she
tar
can
a road
answer.
And we got to tar it again? Our road doesn't get tarred twice.
So. Explain to me, they put a base layer down a couple of years ago. This is the problem.
So what happens is typically roads that we do this to, you have about a 2-inch layer of a base mix that goes down. We wait about a year for Mother Nature to put things where she wants to, and then we come back and we do the surface finish afterwards.
Okay,
And that gets contracted out.
And that's standard on all of our
Okay.
roads.
well,
And
Unless
that
we're
road was
doing-
actually done over
Unless we're
2
doing
years.
just a
Half the
shim and
road
a
was
roll.
done 1 year.
Yeah.
The rest of that road was done in the second year, and then this year they put a
I
top
just want
layer
to let you
on.
know, I thought it looked pretty good the first time, but whatever.
So they won't be redoing Water Street again this year.
Right.
All right. Well, yeah, I know. I mean, somehow we gotta, okay, you know, because this vote didn't pass, I think the vote didn't pass. Okay, so you gotta stick with last year's budget, but you wanna shove it down our
But no, but
throat.
last year's budget was larger, so we're trying to actually reduce it.
Okay,
So,
And if we do not pass that article within a year, we no longer have that line item. You will close the town office. We will not have capital reserves. They will not exist.
all right, okay, okay. Well, you know
We
what?
need to pass a budget for that article.
Alls we sense all the time, what our census tell us, the taxes are going up, the taxes are going up, the taxes are going, that's what we sense. That's all we sense. We don't know how many zeros are on the end of the number.
it's not a sense, it's reality.
It's a true fact, it is
Yeah.
true.
And that's what we're gonna have to work on.
And here's my final statement, is that, you know, you need to spend within your means, and it's really making people, I get it, you're trying to make it a better place to live, okay? But we don't feel happy anymore. We feel no longer do we feel happy. Okay, but you're doing the best you can, I get it. You know, who wants your job? I don't want it.
And I just want to reiterate and explain that the articles that have passed that are driving your taxes up, passed overwhelmingly. Those are the articles that passed by the
I don't
most
think
numbers.
people understand. I don't think they understand what they're
Jeff,
doing.
I sat here
don't
2
get
years
it.
ago and
It's
I
just like, why didn't they opt to get the federal funding? I get it. Why didn't we get the federal funding? They didn't sign for that either.
I don't know where you're,
There was an item in there that, to accept federal money.
it's not federal funding, it's except revenue. State sharing, Benton with our shared EMS is a revenue line. Schools, when the school gets money from the state, they receive revenue. It offsets their total budget.
I don't know.
Yes, we have many people that vote no on everything, and they don't even understand that they're turning down revenue. And we explain that. We sit here and explain it. I mean, I can't go knock on every door and explain how the budget works. They
Been
need
here
to.
since my great-great-grandfather, so, I mean, I got to grin and bear it, and it's really a tough job to do.
But the fire department and EMS is stuff that we have been working on for 2 years. Again, it's been driven by a per capita cost that we have no control over. There is no other avenue to turn to offer ambulance service. We've had Delta for a long
I just wanted to get my 2
time.
cents in, Tim. Bunch
Okay.
of hot air to me. I hear you. I wanted to get my 2 cents in because you know I'm here to complain.
It's not a complaint, Jeff. We are concerned and we hear
I
the
do
same
appreciate
thing.
everybody that,
We agree with you. We absolutely do.
I know it's like you said, you're paying too. You're paying over $100 a month. I'm paying 3 times that much.
Your taxes are not much more than mine, my friend.
Okay.
They're not.
I get it.
It's public
Like that brand new
information.
house in
They're-
Fairfield, I feel
they're
sorry.
not.
I have a brand new house in Fairfield, I feel sorry for him. That one brand new house that you just mentioned, I feel sorry for him.
But it was built where our old house used to be.
No, the one going up right on McKay's farm.
Thank you for your
Because
comments, Jeff.
okay.
We do hear you. Anybody else for comments on these 2 articles?
I just, if, can I have a minute just to
Yes.
address a couple of the things that were brought up?
Please.
One of the gentlemen, I missed your name, I think it was Travis, brought up a couple of different things, and, you know, us being, and I think one of the words that we use here the most often is a crutch word, is transparency. We have countless discussions on making sure that if we have a public hearing, that we're gonna listen and take that criticism on board. We are open to constructive criticism during a public hearing. We want to change things for the better, regardless of how difficult it may be. We need to find, like you said, we need to find those barriers and work through that. We get it, people are not on social media, whatever. We put articles in the paper when we're having public hearings. Which goes on to my next question is, and it's not necessarily a rhetorical question, but what else can we do to get the word out there?
Mailers.
We publicize it at the town office. And we know a lot of people don't use social media. We blow up social media with it. We put articles in the paper.
Send mailers. We send them, so we send, every address gets a mailer.
How about it
Every-
on news outlets?
We mailed
They don't buy the paper.
So going back to what you were saying about the think tank, that to me is the public hearing when we get and we discuss the budget. We have also talked about putting money, and we talk about raising taxes. We went through everything line by line. I have the originals here. At every single thing we looked at, how can we cut this? We talked about not paving roads. We talked about not putting, the list goes on. How can we cut? How can we cut? We've talked also about being transparent, going back to what I was about to say, putting in the budget next year, which we'll have to figure out what's going to offset it, funding so that we can put on TV or on YouTube or on video our meetings, our budget meeting, all of the committee meetings, so that everybody can get a chance to watch that throughout the month or before the next council meeting. So we're working on those things. I don't think there's a perfect answer, and I would hope that if there's residents out there that have constructive criticism. I'm open for it. If we're not willing to change, we're going to be stuck in stagnation forever. None of us at the table up here want that. We represent you.
Right.
Going back to the building, was it Travis?
Carson.
Was talking about, you heard about your house being sold and everything. I saw the paperwork. I would just say that that has not been presented to the town council yet. We haven't had an opportunity to even discuss that yet. Those are beginning things that these committees present as options, just like the budgets or different things. We're talking about Article 2. We put that out there for public to come and talk to us and discuss it so that we can take that on board and we can work with it. We can work with our town manager and the staff within the town on what best suits the residents of Fairfield. So we're trying to be as transparent as possible with everything. And honestly, to hear that we're not being transparent or we're keeping secrets or is behind some closed room, that's the furthest from the truth. And I take that a little personal because we have been doing everything possible to make sure that we are completely transparent. Sometimes you may not like the answer, but I guarantee you, I probably hate it even worse, especially if it's coming out of my pocket with the taxes. It's crazy. And I would be the first to admit that I have thought about selling my home because, you know, like we put the numbers up there. My taxes are I'm going to be almost $9,000 a year. I live alone. I don't have children in school. I live on a private road. I don't get snow plowed. I don't do any of that stuff. I have a contaminated well. But like you, I love Fairfield. So how can we make it better? That's where we need you guys to come to these meetings, to get on our committees, to help us out, help us make things better. We're here for you. We're not going to let you down. It's painful sometimes, but we're not going to let you down.
Right.
What's gonna happen if that 12,000 you guys want for the new budget, what happens if that doesn't pass?
Then we go back to town council and we look at what, so the question for the people at home that may not have heard him, the question was, if this article does not pass, what happens? We will go through the same process with any budget. The town council will meet with the town manager. She will get with her department heads. We'll look and figure out, why did it not? First, I mean, it sounds silly. Why did it not pass? Did it not pass because they don't think it's enough? We assume that it's because people are thinking that it's too high. The town manager will then work with the department heads and present to town council what their recommendations are. We will discuss it. We will ask the difficult questions. Again, hopefully in the future we can figure out how to televise that. We will then meet with the budget committee, present them what we came up with. We will sit and listen to their deliberations and wait and see if they have questions, see what they recommend. Their recommendations come up, that goes back to council. We discuss it with them. Okay, yes, no. We let the town manager, this is what the budget committee and the town council came up with. Let's put it back out onto the mailer so that we can vote on it again. We just have to we have a year to make it pass.
Which keeps costing more money for these.
It does, and we talked about that. Every election costs us about $3,500. So we're spending $3,500 to vote on a budget that we're saving $2,000 on. So at some point, I mean, that's being transparent, and we talk about that at the other town meeting, or at the other council meetings. We discuss that. And again, it goes back to you guys, people say, well, they don't hear this. Our council meetings are televised. I have the numbers right here in the town manager report of how many people actually watch it. And like somebody said, you got people that just don't care. They don't care to watch, and you got a core group of people in any community that will do whatever they can to help.
Where is it being televised?
Could you step up, please, so that people at home could hear?
Where is it being televised?
It's being televised on Crossroads TV. It's also on YouTube and some other social media avenues.
I didn't know that. I mean, the television landscape has changed. Most of us have internet and we stream what we can afford because we can't afford Spectrum anymore.
So YouTube is free, and in fact, we're even talking about how we can generate revenue on this.
But why didn't I know that?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
So this is what we're saying. Not enough people know where to seek out the information.
So as you mentioned that, at one of our recent council meetings, council had talked about doing a monthly or a quarterly newsletter. But again, where does the money come from to be able to send out those mailers? There's a
Maybe-
cost for everything that we have to do, and right now, we can't get the current services that we offer passed to be able to present more. We would love to get more information into the homes, but even like this mailer, as we're talking about tonight, and it's been out, it went to every postal patron in Fairfield,
That's what I'm saying. Look what we got.
and that's
But
typical.
people are on summer break, and this is not a real good time to have this vote.
But there's
It's a
no-
good time to
But
get
there's
it
no way
shoved
around
down our
it.
throats.
There's no way around that if we're going to get this done so that we can then, basically commit taxes. So that we couldn't like wait till, what, like November? Oh, then that's election
What's
and
this, the day
Thanksgiving.
after Labor
And
Day?
December is holidays. So.
Let
like,
me have Michelle
we have-
explain why it's important and the dates of why we've done it, so that you know about how we commit our taxes, so that when we do finally pass a budget, you're not getting a bill December, February, and March, and then your last installment in May, because you wouldn't be very happy getting.
That's another needle in my craw. You say it's quarterly. It is not quarterly. We pay in the fall, and then we gotta pay right again, because they gotta register snowmobiles or whatever's going on in the town office is too much work for the help. That's not, the taxpayers aren't paying quarterly. You figure it out. It's not every 3 months.
I'm going to let her explain. I will tell you, last year, the school budget didn't pass, so we had another second vote for the school budget. We had to wait for the school budget to pass to commit taxes, so that's why it wasn't truly quarterly. Michelle, can you?
So I can explain it to some degree. So like we've mentioned earlier this evening, so your property taxes are made up of the county taxes, the school, and the municipality. And you have to have all three of those numbers in order to be able to commit taxes. So yes, last year we had to vote the school budget a second time, which put that vote further out, which meant we couldn't commit taxes in order for you to have very quarterly measured tax bill payments. They're set at the beginning of the year. We tell people when we want to do them. Our ideal piece is that we would commit taxes in July, and that you would have everything that you need so to pace out when exactly your payments would be. If we didn't do this election in September, and we waited till November, and everything passes in November, we commit taxes the very next day, because we're ready, other than these two budget numbers, your taxes would then be due 30 days from date of commitment, so right before Christmas. Then they'd be due again in January, again in February, and again in May. Nobody wants that to happen for any resident in this municipality. It's not ideal, which is...
It's never been quarterly, Michelle. Never. I've lived in this town for 25 years. It has never been quarterly, every 3 months, no matter what. It has not been.
I think the attempt has been there to try to space that out for you, but there's been 4 payments.
By previous town managers, it was because it was too much work, because the things, registrations for snowmobiles and whatever, the first of the years.
Then no, one has nothing to do with the other at this point in time.
It does.
I mean, I don't know what they told you, but that's not how it's judged at this point.
I'm not lying to you.
So, and I don't think that you are, I'm just saying, this is how we work on it right now. So we're waiting for this budget to pass. Now, what is actually going to happen is if this fails in September, my recommendation to the council at their very next council meeting is that they commit taxes with last year's tax dollar amounts, which means the capital reserve amount is more than what we put forward to be voted on. And yes, the administration side will be less, and we'll have to do a vote in November and figure out a way to fund that. More than likely, it might mean additional money going into a second tax bill, or it would be added on to next year's tax bill. We're investigating that piece. And the reason why is if we wait till November, if this doesn't pass in September, that's exactly how the tax bills will roll out. They'll be due December, January, February, and May. So we have to have these numbers in order to do this. So even if they commit with last year's, there'll still be a change. The problem that we have, and what the council has explained, is that these 2 articles cover some very big things. So while we passed overwhelmingly fire and police, what's in the insurance budget is their professional liability insurance. So if we don't pay their professional liability insurance, It doesn't matter if you funded that department, they're not coming to your house. If we don't fund the insurance for our fleet, which is also in the insurance budget, for our fire truck, police,
Yes.
and we do, and we use a large pool through Maine Municipal Association that is pooled throughout the entire state of Maine. So all of those pieces are in those lines, and that's detailed in the insurance spreadsheet that's there. So it says fleet, so that's all of our fire trucks, our plow trucks, our police cruisers. It's all in there. We don't set those rates. We look for the best rate. We get the best coverage that we can, but that has to be paid. So even if you fund police and fire, you still have to fund the insurances.
And when you keep buying new vehicles, it costs more to insure a new vehicle than to keep some running.
No, it really doesn't. In fact, actually, because these are tools for their job, these are not things that people use for their regular daily life, these are actual tools for their job. We do find that the longer the wear and tear, they actually become much more expensive. The vehicles break down, they cost a lot more money. So the capital reserve piece is done, and the capital reserve money isn't even close to what you would need to appropriate on a regular basis to ensure that we keep what we need in reserves for our vehicles. The reserve money right now for the Public Works Department will not fund a new plow truck. $170,000 will not buy you a brand new plow truck. So that's the issue we have. It's not that nobody's oblivious to the fact that people are on fixed incomes in our community. It's the simple fact that they also expect us to plow the roads. In fact, by law, we're required to plow the roads. So there are services that we must provide by law. And those services come at a cost. And we try our best to find the cheapest way to do it. But those are the things that we need to do. And a lot of these pieces, a lot of your administration, the town office, almost every single position we have up there, you're required to have by law. You have to have a code enforcement officer. You have to have a town clerk. You have to have a tax collector. You have to have a treasurer. You have to have a town manager. You have to have all of those things. So there are things that we have to fund. And we have to have insurance in order for us to be able to do our jobs. We need a legal budget for your protection, so that if anything was to happen. And the election budget is less than it was last year, but we're already one more election than what we were last year. So those are the pieces that we're working on to try to get there. But that's the process for taxes.
And we
I
did,
digressed a bit, I'm sorry.
and we did discuss at least, maybe it was the last council meeting. I know we discussed it a couple of different times. I know I asked a question specifically to Tim, and it came up during the budget, was Tim actually brought it up, being in the insurance business, are we shopping around for this? So we asked those questions, and the town manager, I think there was 2 of them that we were going to look at.
Yeah.
But we were already, the way I understand it, we're already obligated for what we have. Insurance this year, the primary beef of this Article 2 increase this year that we're talking about right now, 11.48% increase in insurance. That's huge. 3.4.
But we're all of our homeowners are all going up too.
Right.
Yes.
Along with these
So-
big tax bills that we've got to do something in this town to bring down the cost.
So, and
I know some of these things are definitely needed to make the town run. I understand that.
we,
But there still are things that I think could be done differently. You know, this building doesn't support itself. But yet, we've got a dinosaur of a library, we've got a dinosaur of a town office. I mean, I don't know. We've got a great parking lot out here. To me, the town office ought to be here. Instead of heating 2 buildings.
And we have a police department that's sinking in the ground. We're trying to address those through different committees. We still have a number of committees, like I said earlier at the beginning of the meeting, that still need volunteers. We rely heavily on our committees, and I can say probably for the first time in a long time, every council member belongs to at least one standing committee. And we rely heavily on those committees for information and their expertise. So you mentioned insurance. I happen to own an insurance agency. Of course, it's the first thing we're going to discuss, because if I think I can save the taxpayers and myself money, we're going to do that. You know, being a conflict of interest, I wouldn't shop it out, but I suggest the companies that I know represent. As Councilor Kitchen said, our work comp was part of what drove that 11.4%. And there's a whole process on that, how that works, but those are funded through a trust, through a massive pool, just like your homeowners and your car insurance. There are a number of factors. It's called a mod rate, and it's based on what our claim status is. We had, maybe a shoulder surgery. We had some injuries that we sustained, and those affect our rates. But tonight, these two articles, again, that we're talking about, those insurances are part of this article, and we're almost flat is what we're asking for taxes on this particular line item that we're discussing tonight, and we're down on our capital reserves, $20,000 from the prior year. And as Michelle alluded to, is sometimes it's a lot less expensive to have a rotation for a fleet of vehicles. We're finding with some of our dump trucks and bigger, older equipment, they can't find parts anymore.
The grader.
Even if we wanted to fix it, the parts aren't available. And the manufacturers are doing that on purpose because they want you to buy new. So with your police engines, I mean, they're getting a great deal. Some of the cruisers that Chief Gould has recently purchased, they're a year or two old leftovers, but new to us. 0 miles. They do a great job. They do their due diligence. They make the equipment go as far as it possibly can. But these reserve accounts are needed so that when a dump truck goes down and we do have to provide plowing, what do we do if we can't find parts? We don't have the reserve account in there to go purchase a new grader or a new plow. We can't come back to the taxpayer and say, I'm sorry, we need a special meeting so we can raise more money and tax you a second bill so that we can get a new plow or a new police cruiser.
Plus it take,
Looked at what it would cost to sub it out.
plus it take about 6 months to a year to get a new piece of equipment.
That's not what I said.
That's why balance is this much, because we're finding it's gonna take that long, just in case the equipment does go down, will take that long to get it, and then prices will go up.
Jim Green, Fairfield.
Please step to the podium, please. Thank you.
I think you guys are actually wrong about getting parts. I was a mechanic most of my life. I'm 71 years old. I'm a mechanic, and all the vehicles we ever had, we can always find parts. Always, always, always. It don't matter. It don't matter. You can source parts on the internet. That's all I got to say. You ain't gonna sit there and tell me you can't buy parts. I know better than
I'm telling what our mechanic specifically told us.
Well, they're wrong.
About the grader.
They're wrong.
About the grader.
Excuse me?
About the grader. So one specific piece.
You can get parts for them.
I would say that you probably can, but graders are specific. I have old tractors. Yep, you have to hunt and you can find old pieces. So I'm sure you can, but it's not.
You can find anything you want for heavy equipment.
Sure.
Anything you want, heavy equipment online. I know because I've been a mechanic my whole life.
Yep.
And I just retired. And your guys ain't gonna sit there and tell me you can't find parts.
That's the truth, Jeff.
So I don't think we are. I think we're telling you that we need to have reasonable reserves so that you can replace equipment on a reasonable schedule over
They're not,
an extended
the
period of
equipment's
time.
not that bad. It's
So-
not that
so
bad.
there-
You guys can't fix rust.
So they do. They do all the time. The Public Works Department does a great job of maintaining and helping. They do most of the service for the police department.
Yep,
They do their own
absolutely.
trucks. So we cut a lot of costs by keeping it in-house. So we try to do those things.
We've swapped engines on fire
Exactly,
department vehicles.
exactly.
We do
But
those
you can
things.
find parts for any vehicle that you want, heavy
Yes.
equipment. Heavy equipment.
I'm sure-
You can find any parts you want online.
I'm sure
I
that-
don't care. You can CB Kenworth, International, Freightliner, Sterling. You can find anything you want.
I think that's good information. We'll take that
Sure,
on
Tom-
board.
Tommy will reach
Anything
right out
you
to you.
want. I've been a mechanic my whole life. I know.
Thank you.
And I've worked on heavy equipment. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to provide any comments? please.
Hi there, I'm Cassie Julia. I live in Waterville now, but I grew up in Fairfield. And I just want to tell a little story real quick about vehicles. A couple years ago, we had a big fight in Waterville about school buses. Every year or so, you replace a school bus, etc. One year, we decided not to replace a school bus to save some money. Turns out that there's a reimbursement from the state that happens if you replace your school buses on a certain schedule. We screwed that up. We lost a ton of state funding from that. The bus broke down about 14 times throughout the school year, including one time they were coming back from a game up in Bangor full of kids around 11 o'clock at night. So those kids were stranded on the side of the road for hours while they waited for another bus to go up and get them. So there are all sorts of details in a city or town budget process that are details like that these guys have spent years trying to figure out. They stumble through, they figure it out, they get it under their belts. Town managers do the same thing. And people like us, our house budgets are a different kind of budget. Things that we do at home to save money, it's like backwards with the cities and towns and state. It's really is backwards. And so what you have to do is you have to pay attention. That's our right and our job as citizens to come to these meetings and listen. As much as we don't want to, as much as we want other people to do it, if we can engage and be a part of the process, these questions get less. And you start to realize that these guys, the first time they started, the first day they came in, the first budget they worked on, they asked all these questions. If you go back, I watch these meetings all the time. My dad always has them on TV. He lives in Fairfield. And, you know, I'm really impressed actually at what the lengths that you guys go to here, given how big Fairfield is, how many people are here, and the challenges that you work with. But I think that the message is that sometimes there are things that make sense logically for the average citizen to do at home that does not make sense logically as far as the state, the federal government, and the town is concerned. The other thing that these guys are doing is thinking ahead till next year when they know there's a whole bunch of federal cuts coming down the pipeline and potentially state cuts coming down the pipeline. And what they don't want to have next year is to let you know that your mill rate is going up 8 points or 12 points. So I would say that the biggest lesson I've learned in government is that elections do cost money. They're not kidding about $3,500 for a thing. In Waterville, our elections cost $20,000. So when we have something like this come up to save $12,000, we're $8,000 in the hole by the end of it. Waterville, us. When it costs us $20,000 to have, an election, but we're trying to save $12,000, it costs us in Waterville $8,000 to try to save that $12,000. You know what I'm saying? So you really do have to listen to your experts. My taxes are real high in Waterville too. I can't imagine like what it's like to be here in Fairfield and have the same thing going on. I know my dad's taxes have gone way up. He would be here if he wasn't sick. So I came in his place. But I do think that it's real important to realize that there's all sorts of details that we could sit here and talk for 3 weeks and we won't get through them all. These guys are good at their jobs. Tim and I don't agree on much, but I know that he does a good job here in Fairfield. So anyway, thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Cassie. Cassie's also a state rep, guys. So I appreciate the insight. Just to wrap things up, when Carson talked about the keyboard Facebook warriors, there was a recent post where they were comparing us to Waterville, Winslow, Skowhegan, Oakland, all the local municipalities. And because the accounting practices of each budget is different, it's really hard to put, an apples to apples comparison when you're comparing line items, which is what they tried to do. But the one thing they were able to point out was the total municipal budgets per each town, which is the only thing that the town councilors can control is their municipal budget. And by doing that, you take the total amount that we have to appropriate for municipal taxes, police, fire, all these warrant articles that you voted on, and you divide it by the number of residents, which again, Dee Dee had mentioned, you know, I don't like it that renters and this and that, they don't have to pay.
What do we have in the town of Fairfield?
6,600 roughly. I don't have the exact number on me.
64 to 67, depending on what you look at.
Yeah.
And most of them are probably elderly, correct?
I don't,
No.
I'm talking census numbers, and what I'm trying to, my point is, if you take the total budgeted amount from our municipality and you divide it by the number of citizens per census, this municipality of Fairfield pays lower per pupil than any of the surrounding towns by a long shot. Oakland's close. Skowhegan, Waterville, much bigger, different things. Waterville and Winslow also have their school budgets that they control because they're not part of an SAD. But if you just take out the municipal portion, not counting the county, Fairfield is lower than Oakland, Waterville, Winslow, Skowhegan.
Per person.
Per person, and Oakland. Oakland's fairly close, within $10 per person. We're probably $300-400 per person less than Winslow. $700-800 less per Skowhegan, and again, I'm throwing these numbers out arbitrarily, but when I took the numbers that they threw out and I divided by the per capita, Fairfield is the lowest of the 5 local towns that we surround. So
we still want to do better.
we do, but we also, you know, we care. We are feeling the same crunches and pains that you do, but again, and like Councilor Kitchen said, we want objective criticism. We want to be questioned. You know, it makes us better. It helps. I've done the budget for 10 years before I got on council. I know the budget like the back of my hand, but I also know that Oakland doesn't do their budget the same way, neither does Winslow. Skowhegan doesn't have to worry about an EMS because Reddington Fairview takes care of theirs. There are portions of each town's budget, they're just not apples to apples comparison. But at the end of the day is, what is the dollar amount that the town has to raise to pay for these services? And that's where your mill rate comes in as well. So when I hear the complaints that Fairfield mill rate is high, I have an easy solution. I double your property values and I cut your mill rate in half because the town still has to raise the same amount of money. It is an arbitrary number, but it's something the state makes us do as far as valuations, primarily for the homestead exemption, for the money that we receive for state funding. We rely heavily on state revenue as a municipality and a school. And those are things that the council have no control over, either one of them. So it's not that we don't hear you, we do. We absolutely have zero input or control on how those formulas and systems work. So again, I appreciate the feedback. We have, I mean, my parents, my dad lives 2 houses up, fixed income, senior citizen. My family was a farm family. Jeff Pellerin's been mowing my fields since I was a kid. We sold the farms. I didn't want a farm. You know, slowly we had to sell everything off because we couldn't afford the taxes. So I'm in that same boat. I love Fairfield. That's why I'm still here. I love our schools, you know, but my kids went to school there. I went to school there. It's trying to find that happy balance where we can all afford to live. And we know these things are coming up. The transparency on our EMS service and our fire department, we've been telling you this for 2 years. I'll sit here again and tell you I voted against hiring fire personnel last year because I didn't know how we were going to pay for it. It passed, overwhelmingly passed. And this year, we have numbers that we can't control. We're handed a bill for a service that our citizens want, and we have to find a way to pay for it. So, you know.
When are we ever going to get the 100% of the Homestead Act?
Michelle, can you answer that one? We're in the middle of our reval process. So, and this is another education piece that we will have to discuss moving forward when those final numbers come out, because as I just told you, mill rate is an arbitrary number based on the total amount of money the town has to appropriate. So when I hear the complaints of, you know, Waterville's this or Oakland's that, it all depends on what their property values are at. Sometimes the homestead exemption is helpful, other times it's not. And Michelle can explain that a little better than I can.
So the town of Fairfield, we've been working on a reevaluation process for the last 4 years. We split the town up in quarters with relatively equal amounts of maps and lots in each quarter, and they come out and they reassess each one. And we started that process, if you've been following along from the beginning, it was at the height of the market, right? During COVID, houses were selling for 100 to 150% more than what their assessed values were. The state of Maine every year requires us to report to them housing sales in our municipality, what they sold for, and what they're assessed at, and what the difference is between those two prices, which gives you an assessment ratio. And if you drop below 70%, meaning your properties are valued at 70% of what they sold for, we can start to lose state funding. State revenue sharing, state aid to education, homestead reimbursement, tree growth reimbursement, all of those different things. Our assessed value is factored into the state's calculation. And it's our assessed value from 2 years ago. So not today, but 2 years value. So we've continued to work on that process, and we will start in the 27 tax year. No, so next year, folks will start getting more information about notices about new values and meetings with assessors, so to discuss your assessed value. The section of town that they have left to do is the in-town piece, so it has the largest amount of lots that per se. You don't typically pick up a lot of new value in your in-town densely populated areas, quite frankly, because your neighbors all turn you in for the decks that you built that you didn't get a building permit for. It's just what happens. But stuff that happens out in the country, as they pick that up, that's going on the tax rolls now, but based upon the same value as if they'd told us about it 20 years ago. The issue is the market has not changed, really deviated at all. And in fact, this year, we have to do another factoring across the board for folks because our assessment ratio came in at 63%. Because the market still continues to climb and our values are not keeping pace. We did an across the board adjustment 2 years ago. It allowed us to certify at 85 and hold that number. But we're going to have to do it again this year, so that's coming forward. You'll see that. It's not going to be as much of a change in value as what it's going to be when the reval is completed, but there will be a marked increase. So we'll be able to keep the homestead where it's at. Because one of the things we did not want to see happen was the fact that not only was the mill rate going to go up, but the homestead was going to go down. So we try to keep that balance in there at the same time. Now, the state of Maine, though, remember, even if you got 100% of the value here, $25,000 on your property for the homestead, the state of Maine only reimburses the municipality 76% of that. So you still have to continue to make up that extra 25%. So we almost tax you more to make up for that 25% that the state's not going to give us, that we wouldn't necessarily have to tax you for if it wasn't there. It is definitely a catch-22. I can tell you, though, just a little digress. So I sit on Maine Municipal Association's Legislative Policy Committee. There's representatives from every district across the entire state that sits there. We had our first meeting today. One of the biggest conversations that lasted 3 hours. Everybody from all across the state, same exact conversation that you're having here today. How do we fix this? How do we stop it? How do we get these prices under control? How do we get the state of Maine to reimburse us at 100% of these exemptions out there? How do we get them to stop doing unfunded state mandates where municipalities have to do things and then have to come up with the money to fund them? How do we make sure that they continue to pay the 55% of education, or maybe even more of education? Every single municipality, or at least every district across the state, is represented in that room. And everybody had the same exact issue and the same exact problem. And I'm not saying to discount it, I'm saying it to let you know that everybody knows that this is a problem. And to let you know that folks are working on it, and they're working on some creative solutions. One of the biggest ones that was talked about today, may not be popular, they're looking at a local option sales tax. And would that work? And would that work if it's also done on a cost-sharing basis? So, but it's done at the county level. And, I mean, there's some really outside-the-box thinking that's happening in this room of anything that we can do, because we are limited. We can't just go out and say, oh, we're going to raise rates on parking tickets, because the fee on a parking ticket or even a building permit has to be in keeping with the cost it is to administer it. The state of Maine does not allow municipalities to go out and say, okay, building permits in town now for a shed are going to be $3,000. You can't do that. It has to be in keeping with the cost is of providing the service for the inspection and the paperwork and all of that, and the registration of it so that we tax it and all of those things. We're very, very limited as to what we can do that isn't property taxes. There's just not a lot that can be done.
Hope we have better people that are going to do the assessing than we had last time,
And
when the properties were assessed.
so,
They did a terrible job.
oh, you mean the last reval back in the 90s?
Yeah.
Yes, it is definitely a different firm. It's a different firm than that. So, and if any time you have a question or concern, because the folks that are doing our reval is the same firm that is our contracted assessing provider. So anytime you have a question, please feel free to contact the town office. You can either, they're usually in on Fridays, you can meet with them then, or set up an appointment and somebody will call you back or get you scheduled to come talk to them. But anytime you have a question on your property values.
They're probably going to be hard pressed to get inside any home after the last fiasco.
I don't know. So, I mean, but I do tell folks that it is always in your best interest to allow them into your home, because the type of construction in your home, so whether you have Formica countertops or granite countertops, makes a big difference in your assessment value. And it just does. And it's based upon, and our assessments at the municipal level have to be based on the market. That's the way the law is written. So that's how it works. So if your neighbor sells their house for $150,000 more than what it's assessed for, just know they should have been assessed at more than that, and chances are you're probably going to be assessed at more than that too if your houses are comparable. But the number is relative, because we still at the end of the day have to raise the same amount of money, right? So if your house is worth 12, if your house is worth 6 and I need $12, the mill rate's going to be 2. But if I need $12 and your house is worth 3, then the mill rate's going to be 4.
I feel that those of us who keep our houses up get penalized.
There's a lot of folks with the homestead exemption that don't pay property taxes at all. It happens. But there's a lot of people who, so if you have a property in town that's worth less than $25,000, then there's no property taxes associated with it, because the homestead wipes out all its value. We get the reimbursement from the state, but not the full amount. And it happens. And it happens in every municipality across the entire state. It happens everywhere.
That just doesn't seem right.
Nobody said the system was perfect.
Yeah, they can appreciate it.
And hopefully that answers the question.
All right, do we have any other questions or comments on this portion of the public hearing? All right. Thank you again for your comments, questions, all concerns. We are listening, we do hear you. I will close this public hearing, 7:47 PM. And now I'm going to open a second public hearing, 7:47 PM. To hear public comment on the adoption of the 2026 Fairfield School Affordable Housing Municipal Development and Tax Increment Financing District, the Fairfield School AHTIF District, and adoption of a development program. If any members of the public that wish to speak or comment on the affordable housing TIF?
Can you explain that to us? Yeah.
Would you like me to explain what this is?
Yeah, please.
So, KV Cap has purchased the Fairfield Primary Building that's on High Street, and they're looking to put in 30 new affordable senior housing units. They'll be using funding through Maine State Housing Authority, and so they've requested a TIF. So a housing TIF is tax increment financing. Basically, the project, but for receiving back a portion of the property taxes that they would have paid on it, would not succeed. So this is an interesting project in which the primary school, when it belonged to the school, was never taxed. It was completely tax exempt and it didn't put any money into the tax rolls. This project, so once its ownership is taken over by KV Cap and these housing units go in, it is taxable. The way the housing TIF works is 75% of those property taxes, once paid, will be reimbursed back to them so that they can use it to run and pay for the housing program that they'll have available there. 25% of that will stay within the municipality and put into a specific TIF district, housing TIF fund that we will use for things that are allowable under the law for under housing TIFs. Mainly, it will be used, and we already have one of these, 50 Mountain Ave, up on Mountain Ave, the old sanatorium. That was a 28-unit housing TIF. And housing TIFs are different than regular and economic development TIFs. So we have a downtown TIF, we have a 201 TIF. Those are usually large tracts of land which are used to incentivize development. Housing TIFs are centralized to one project, typically on one piece of land. And it's very difficult to use housing TIF dollars on a project unless you're the people that are managing the project. The law allows a municipality to use them for a few things outside. Some upgrades to potentially water and sewer. So say 30 new units requires a new pump station or an upsize in the sewer pipes. It could be used for that. Mainly what the municipality has done with it is it's gone into a fund that can use to help incentivize future housing development throughout the entire town. So one of the big housing has been a big conversation across the entire state for many years, whereas our housing stock is old. It's difficult to get people to invest, especially in this region. If you think about the housing market like we just talked about, you can go lumber at Hammond is the same price here in Fairfield as it is down in the southern part of the state. But if they can build a house in the southern part of the state and sell it for 1.5 times what they built it for, but can't sell it for that here, then obviously they're going to invest in the southern part of the state. So the issue is how do you try to get a developer to see the benefit of investing up here in our region? And one of the things you can use is housing TIF dollars to help incentivize that process, whereas maybe you have to help with some environmental assessment on a lot or that kind of stuff. So the law is very specific on the things that we can use it for. So this process requires, in order for it to be adopted, which can be adopted by the town council, but it does require a public hearing. And so that's what this is here tonight. And then it would be adopted by the town council. Then once that's done, then the entire document, along with their plans through KV Cap, gets submitted to Maine State Housing Authority, and then they will let them know whether or not they're eligible for the housing assistance monies that they need in order for this project to happen. So this project's already been to the planning board. It's been reviewed by the local code enforcement officer and the planning board and been approved by them. So this is just the last part of their financial process.
So once it's complete, it won't generate a lot of tax dollars for the town?
It will not generate a lot for the next 30 years. 30 years only. They're required to keep it. So they're required to keep it as the low-income housing facility, though, for the next 40, 45 years. So it's not like they can just say the TIF's over, we're out. But it will allow us to possibly generate funds that we wouldn't. So, but for this, it would not happen. And it keeps this property from sitting empty, but also allows us to have people be able to afford to move into our area. And so with it, helps increase our population in our municipality. And maybe there's no property taxes on that, but those people come with cars, so there's excise tax. They use our stores, they use our gas stations, they go to our restaurants, so all of those pieces. So for 30 years, we're gonna reimburse them so that they can make this project happen. It has to stay in place for the 40 to 45 years, and then it's there afterwards. So, but you're not, and because the reason, like I said at the beginning, this is an ideal project, whereas we're not losing anything because we never got anything anyway.
Right. So-
But what we will do is we will gain 30 new housing units, potentially 30 to 60 new residents in our municipality, and all of the wonderful things that come along with that.
And I would say that we're not reimbursing them, we're just receiving less tax dollars from them, right? So we're not necessarily reimbursing. Yes, we are giving away 75%, but that was 75% that we didn't have anything.
Well,
in the
yes,
past.
in that
We're not really,
context, yes.
And part of the TIF, part of this too, for a project like this, it's really important, as we're only going to be probably 6 to 8 projects that are going to be approved around the state. And they look at a scoring system. So you're looking at, this one is historic, so that can give you some points. It's walkable, so we can actually walk to the downtown. That's going to give you points. If you have TIF money behind it, that gets you more points. So we are helping making this project be much more attractive to the Maine State Housing Authority to actually get approval and actually be one of the 6 to 8 projects that get approved. So I think this is a really important part.
And may I, the biggest reason, like that will matter to you guys, that you want a TIF on something like this, is that that building would be valued at a lot. And if you suddenly add that kind of tax value,
Oh, yeah.
property tax value to your tax rolls like that, it throws off all of your budget, all of your reimbursements from the state. All those formulas get thrown right off. So things that come in to fund your schools, things that come in to subsidize your roads, all of those formulas get cut off, and there are potential for it actually ending up, even though you generate maybe $1 million in tax revenue from that, it could cost more for the revenue that you lose from the reimbursements from the state. So you want to sort of peter in that stuff over 30 years. And you are going to get the 25% property tax boost. But that way it doesn't blow your school funding and stuff out from the state. That's what I meant when I say that. This stuff is complicated. It's not like if you get another job, suddenly your budget's going to be taken care of. All the sources of funding are all contingent on so many different factors. And that's why TIFs exist. Because if you didn't have a TIF, nobody would ever develop anything, because it would blow all of your funding formulas from the state and federal funding way off. So a TIF allows you to encourage development without burdening the taxpayers even more.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions, comments in this public hearing?
My concern, of course, is bottom line for me.
Please come to the podium to speak, please. Or actually, Brittany, you want to just hand him the microphone?
Get him the microphone.
We're going to hand him the microphone.
You want to sit?
Oh, leave it right there. I gotta go to the podium.
All right.
Okay. For the record, my name is Tom Williams. My wife Kathy, she doesn't know what I'm going to say yet. But I hear about the construction, and there's going to be renewed taxes, and the state's going to keep some of the stuff that they usually would give us. My question is, bottom line, what's it going to cost me? My taxes going up or not?
No.
Going down.
I'm okay.
Mine's never gone down, let's put it that way.
I can't see it going up. I don't believe that is.
So our questions, we ask them down in the show.
Jefferson, yeah.
And get what? An extra 2%?
Anybody else with any questions? Council Kitchen has a couple for Michelle.
Certainly. And
So
it's here too.
a couple questions I have, is anything in this negotiable?
It's already been negotiated.
So is the 75-25, is that negotiable?
So that's based upon the numbers that are required of what they would need to have in order to make this project
To make
a
it
success.
affordable.
Yeah, to make it viable.
So
And it's also
have
relatively stable.
you looked at the, and I'm sure you have, I'm going to ask the questions anyway. I'm not insulting your intelligence by all means.
Go ahead.
Have you looked at a 70-30, how much of a difference that makes?
Yeah, those calculations have all been done. So, and then it's, not only is that done, but then there's a projection. So in the documents that you received, I'm trying to figure out which,
And I had questions on, I have a bunch of questions.
Yep. So there's a projection about what's it gonna, what is, so the interesting part with TIFs is,
Is this the captured assessment value?
yes. And so you have to figure, okay,
Right.
so if this is what it's valued at, and that means if the value doesn't change consistently over the course of the next 30 years. But you have to remember, like even in this reval in our TIF districts, those original assessed values, even a market rate adjustment change is growth in our TIF districts. So the way it works is because its value is 0, we will collect taxes on its new value just the same as we would anybody else, okay? But sometimes we'd have TIF districts like Mountain Ave where it actually had $100,000 worth of value on it when it started. So the folks that own the Mountain Avenue project pay taxes like normal, like everybody else, on that original $101,000. And the TIF is only on the increased in value. So those are some of the things that you have to look at. But their value, it was projected at a certain amount over the course of 30 years. But every time we've done a market adjustment to the tax tables, we've captured even more of that because
So
it grows.
they're
in value.
estimating it at 3.1.
Yeah, so what you have to do is, and because it is best guess, you have to, well, best logical guess. It's not like we just pulled it out of thin air. It's based upon construction costs and the estimated value based upon the type of construction and all of those things. And then that's the number you use in order to be able to do the documentation.
So the reason why I ask about the 70-30, whatever, I just arbitrary number, is the 25% that I'm looking at. I'm concerned if the 25%, what chart was that? That was on page 5 of all the project coming over the next 30 years. What happens if we spend this? That's coming out of the taxpayer then, right?
No. So every bit of the monies that's in this, so you notice there's no cost estimates in there. That's the other thing. It's an anticipated amount to be funded by revenue. That's if its value stays exactly the same over the entire time frame. Nothing in this document for the projects that start on page 5 say that we have to do exactly what's listed here. When you put this plan in place, you say you're going to do stuff that's covered by this section of the law. This is kind of what we're thinking about. But it doesn't mean that you absolutely have to spend $22,000. You see what I mean, like in the first one?
No, my question is, what happens if we have to spend more?
Then you pay for it with other sources. Meaning you can only use so much TIF money to cover it. So one of the calculations we do every year, you'll notice in our revenues, regular revenues in the spreadsheets, budget spreadsheets, there's a line for TIF, TIF revenues. All of our TIF districts allow up to a certain amount annually for administration, and we know what that number is. And it's used to offset after we pay our economic development corporations. So we know what that is. And a small portion of that would be used for this as well, if need be. It takes a while for these to even develop any amount of money. It doesn't even start until they get certificate of completion. So while this says 30 years, the document is written pretty broadly so that it could be 30 to 35, because the clock actually starts ticking when they get a certificate of completion when they're done the project. So it's not like while they're in construction, they're wasting money.
So the developer is telling us then that it will become unaffordable if they don't get 75%?
That was the piece that was put forward.
And are they using grants and tax?
I believe they're using lots of things.
Kickbacks or-
And they're here this evening and can step right up to the podium and tell you what other funding sources they have for this.
Good evening. Good evening. David Pelton, I'm the Chief Financial Officer for KV Cap and oversee all their real estate development.
Welcome back, David.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for staying late for us tonight. So the funding for this is, it's what we call the capital stack. There are several different layers to it. So there's some historic
Tax credits.
Preservation.
preservation money going into it. There's money from Maine Housing. We also apply to like the Federal Home Loan Bank out of Boston. They have an affordable housing pot of money. So these projects become affordable when they're built. So the affordability element comes out of getting money to build the project. And then to take that money, say from Maine Housing, we then agree to keep it affordable for, I think it's 49 years actually. But we have to keep it affordable for certainly long past my retirement date. And the state then, we have to agree then to let the state of Maine set the rents. Like we don't even get to set what the rent amount is. They take
Based on
what they see as the local rents, and they tell us what the affordability rate is going to be for a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom.
Like 60% of
Right.
the median income
AMIs,
of the
right.
county, which is,
Sorry, that might be a little more than your exact question.
No,
but that-
it's good. I was just, I attempted to research it, and it's all legal stuff that I don't understand. And I kept coming back to, what is the risk to our taxpayer at only getting 25%? And if it's considered affordable, let's say if we did go 70-30, does that push it so it no longer the rent becomes unaffordable, or it no longer becomes appealing to the developer?
right, so
So,
I'm trying to get more money for the town is what I'm trying to do.
well, it's a valid effort, a valiant effort. I applaud you for that. But it's, so the reason that, so there are two reasons why we ask for the 30-year 75%. One reason is what you brought up earlier with, it makes us more competitive for the statewide funds. So if we lowered that, we would get our points that were awarded in the application would also lower, which would make us less competitive than other parts of the state. So essentially Fairfield TIFs are competing with Bangor TIFs and Falmouth TIFs and York TIFs and anybody else who's doing this. But the real reason is that because the rents are set below market rate, we have to show them that we can operate this over the next 49 years and not lose money. We have to show that it can at least make a little bit, and these projects tend to make a couple of $1,000s a year, so there's really no profit. That's why for-profit developers don't do it either, because there's actually not much profit in it. But we have to show that the operations is going to stay positive over the course of decades. And really, we only have to look ahead 15 years because nobody can actually guess beyond that. But we have to show them over 15 years that this is actually going to be a viable project.
So while you're up here, I have some questions for you.
Sure.
Policies. Are there set policies? And I'll ask my questions. And one would be, do Fairfield residents get any type of housing priority on this? And I'm sure it's out there, but again, for the benefit of the taxpayers and me, I don't know, the eligibility requirements, is it 55, whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to touch on policy a little bit of what you guys would have, and two things that are near and dear to me. And this may sound insignificant to some, but it's important to me because it's going to be the town supporting this project. One is it going to be a gun-free zone? Is it going to be Second Amendment? I know it's off-the-wall question, but that's important to me. Are registered sex offenders going to be, is there a process? What are you guys thinking is going to be your criteria to get residents into that building?
So the short answer is that everything we do has to follow federal fair housing law. Like there's no getting around that, no matter what. So part of that would mean we could not set aside, say, for town residents. But we can say 55 and older. And we can put an income on it, like 50 to 60% of median income.
I
Like we
think
can
it's
put
60, it says 60 in here.
60, right. Different, if it's family housing, it's usually 50 to 60. If it's senior housing, I think it's 60. So this is 55 and older, which is considered senior housing. So I guess sort of that's kind of the answer to all those questions, is if it's within the fair housing laws, then
We have
it's
to.
doable, or we have to do it. We have to set it up that way.
Okay.
The only real thing that we have any major control over is it going to be a non-smoking building, or which it will be. There'll be a smoking area outside, but it'll be a non-smoking building, and then we can limit like the size of a pet. But that's kind of standard stuff anyway.
And then they're we're required, so they have to report to us every year. We have to report to Maine State Housing Authority the status of their rents. Are they all rented? Are they vacant? Are they not at the rates that they said they would be? Is it all of that? So like there's a report, you approve it every year for me to send it in.
Right.
It's just been on Mountain Ave. Now we'll have the two that have to go. So every year we have to do it.
I had two.
And I will tell you just one other thing on that. KVCAP does not do the property management. In this case, it'll be Waterville Housing Authority.
Yeah.
So we like the professional property management companies and organizations to take on that kind of reporting because they're far better at it.
So a couple other questions I had specifically for you. I have two. The first is, what is the timeline from permit to your occupancy certificate? And are there any milestones in there that the town residents should be aware of? Or how are you going to share that information to the town, whether it be ribbon cutting, anything keeping the town updated on what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you a real-time example. We have 37 units going in Waterville of that's family housing, 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. That timeline is taking about 16 months from construction loan closing to where we think the certificate of occupancy will be in November. So that's about a 16-month timeline. We've discovered that's a pretty good estimate of the timeline.
Okay.
So let's say this application will go in next month. And September, next month already.
They'll go in before then, actually.
Yeah, and
why we're having this today.
and we will hear from Maine Housing if we're awarded the funds. Usually it'll be December. They try to get it all done before the end of the calendar year. We can usually get to a permanent loan closing date with them a couple of months after that. So KVCAP will absolutely stay in touch with the town, and we'll do some open houses. We'll probably do a groundbreaking event, which everybody's invited to. It's a fun public event. And then when the units are mostly done is when we'll do like a regular open house, so it's less of a construction site while people are going through, and we like to have the kitchens and bathrooms looking good. It's also really helpful for us to lease it up too and get people interested in coming in to sign leases.
Last question I have for you is, and I know it's not the place in this document, but just for reassurance for myself and us, what are the plans for maintenance, resources, any capital improvement budget to keep that building up for the next 49 years?
Yeah, it's a great question, and the funders would not allow us to let the building go. Basically, they have a couple of requirements. And by funders, I mean not just Maine Housing, but if Federal Home Loan Bank is in on it, or any, the National Park Service deals with the historic piece of it. They do, in addition to construction inspections, monthly construction inspections, where they're out there every month, along with the architect, along with the builder. They do annual inspections once it's done, like for the full 49 years, annual inspections. And they also require, part of our operations has to include a replacement fund or like a capital reserve fund. It has to be fully funded. And one of the things that, another reason why a lot of developers won't take something like this on is you're not actually allowed to touch that capital reserve fund for the first few years. The developer is on the hook if something comes up. So KV Cap also has to show it has enough in the bank to cover, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 thing that happens in the first few years before we can even access that. So the developer has to be strong financially, and there has to be a long-term capital reserve fund in place. They've thought it through over the years, and
They really have done well with it.
and it's a tight ship.
I just had a question from a resident who got contacted me. Just concern is on TIFs, there's no residents' money, property taxes are being paid for this project.
No,
Okay.
no.
Right.
I just had a resident ask me that as well.
Yeah, no.
That's why.
And then,
Not in the budget.
and then I had 4 questions, maybe you can elaborate, or for Michelle.
Yep.
Actually 5. On page 5, it says payment obligations on the part of the town shall exist. What are the obligations, the payment obligations?
Page 5? Yeah,
Yeah.
you're in,
I don't know what section it is, I'm sorry. It's the only one with a 5 on it.
no, it's not.
Section 2.3, paragraph C. It's talking about exemptions as such. This agreement shall terminate and no further deposit or payment obligations on the part of the town shall exist. Are we obligating payment to them?
Yeah, so basically what happens is if this is the section that I think it is, I'm getting there. Page 5, section what, did you say?
2.3, paragraph C.
To the contrary, if the district property becomes exempt. I think I'm looking at the wrong page 5 too. But basically, this is a contract between the town and KV Cap, well, the developer, and dictates the expectations, right? So how does it work if they pay their property taxes? When are we required to give them their money back? Like
Okay, so it's talking about,
right, so there is an obligation that we have to refund them their property
Okay.
taxes within so many days from date of payment.
that's what I,
Yep.
okay. On page 6, the town agrees, under Article 3, the town agrees to pay developer within 30 days following tax payment date. That's assuming what you just talked about.
Yes.
We have, as a town, 30 days to pay them their
Right.
tax increment.
Right.
Okay.
So what happens now, just to explain the process so you can maybe visualize it better, every property that we have in town that has a TIF on it, well, a credit enhancement agreement, not a TIF, credit enhancement agreement, there's a comment in our tax rolls that says, please notify tax collector when tax payments are made, so that we know instantly in the backside that property taxes have come in, because sometimes they just come in the mail, and they've been posted, so that our 30-day clock starts ticking for us to make sure that the reimbursement calculation gets done and it gets put on a warrant, so to get it back to them in a timely fashion.
I want to backtrack because I forgot to ask this question. On the capture assessment value chart, number 3, it says projections, and I understand what projections.
Yep.
Assume a flat rate of 19.4.
Our current mill rate.
So why not, I'm asking the question, why not the mill rate that I'm paying right now?
That is what you're paying right now.
19.4 is our current mill rate.
That's our current mill rate.
After our taxes are going up?
No, no, no. This is based upon last year's tax year, the 25-26 tax year. All of these calculations are based upon values for 25-26.
So is this flat, does this stay the same for the 30 years, or do they pay, or, I don't even know how to ask the question.
Only the sheet in which you are looking at, that statement says that the amount that would be captured is based on the assumption that the mill rate stays the same for 30 years. In no way does it dictate that the mill rate stays the same. Right? So you have to have a number. That's that whole part of districts being a little bit like the
Yeah, I
land
saw
of
that. I
make-believe.
didn't see that it can change.
Yeah, it changes. Their taxable valuation is changed and calculated just the same as everybody else's.
For some reason, I was thinking
Assumptions in section 3, it tells you
Yeah.
that.
Yep, so it uses current value, current potential assessed value.
Gotcha.
So our assessors had to be involved with this document as well. So they took the plans that have been submitted to the planning board, gave it to the assessor.
Right.
I mean, nobody knows exactly what kind of fixtures they're gonna use.
I get it.
right?
For some reason, my
Nope, it's
wallet
good to
seems
ask.
to think it's more than 19.4.
Good to ask.
I can tell you firsthand, it does go up. In other towns, I've seen it go up.
It does go up,
Sometimes down, but
but not
like
often.
somebody said, when it goes down, it usually means because the property values went up.
I think some of these may be already answered. Moving forward, I digress, I'm sorry. Page 9, access to book and records. Just, could I get an example where it says, at the bottom of paragraph 4 or section 4.5, it says, to be opened by inspection by both parties to this agreement and the agents and employees of the parties to this agreement. What's an example of that? Does that ever really happen? I read this as the town council can say, we want to see your books.
Right. Yeah, which you can, I mean,
For this project,
for this project, right.
Project.
right?
Right. And, or more likely, you'd like to see the monthly, the monthly
Well, like if
statements or
something
something.
came up and we wanted a
Right.
public hearing, then we could
Right.
get that information if we need it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I mean, the main things you might be interested in can you prove that you're actually charging the rents that you're telling us
Exactly.
you're charging? And we can say, yes, thank you, Waterville Housing Authority, for tracking that very nicely. Here you go.
And that you're actually using these funds to offset the cost of this project and not using these funds to pay for another project in Waterville, right?
Right.
They have to go into this project.
And I appreciate the other counselors giving me time to go through this, but on page 11, Article 7, like that whole second part of that paragraph is one sentence, and I don't want to read it out loud, but it's just, I don't even know what that means.
I don't have that one right in front of me.
The town agrees upon, I don't even want to read it. I can get it's not going to sway my vote, but I
My
just
guess
want.
is it's in there because the lawyer said it needed to be.
Yeah, I can tell you that essentially, we had an attorney, the town had an attorney, and they worked out some of these things, and they do these often across the state, so
They're
they
standard.
probably just have some things in there that they know Maine Housing is going to ask for.
You want me to read it? You want me to read it?
No, we don't need to read it. It's not going to sway my vote. I just wanted to, in layman terms, what does that mean? And the last question, I think it answers itself after everything we talked about, is on the next page, page 12. In case, for any reason, I'm paraphrasing, in case for any reason be held illegal or invalid, shall not affect any provision, this agreement and this agreement shall be construed and enforced as such. Illegal or invalid provision had not been contained herein. So do I read that as if there's something comes up that's illegal, it just gets lined out of this?
Correct. So if a law changes, right, and that's sometimes what happens is the legislature will change something in the law. Like say they say, one of the projects that we said we were going to do is no longer allowable under this program. That would just get removed going forward, but it doesn't nullify the document, so it doesn't have to be redone.
Okay.
Right, it's one of those things.
And then the last thing, I said it at the last meeting, I appreciate the work that you guys have done with the planning board. I tried to watch, I think I caught every one where you got up to speak and asked all the questions, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with our residents before about being transparent. I would encourage anybody that has questions on this to go back and watch our planning board in action, because I think the hard work between your team and our planning board was amazing. As basic stuff that's being asked, storm drain water, EMS, is the fire department going to be able to access on the backside? How are the parking spots? Can we put them in at an angle? There's a lot of work that goes in on this, and I think our residents, if they have questions, I encourage them to go back and look at some of the planning board meetings, because I think it will answer a lot of questions. So thank you. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate that, and it's nice that those are recorded and people can go back and watch them. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Councilor Kitchen is thorough as always. So good
questions.
I appreciate
Good
it.
questions.
Thank you.
Good questions.
Okay, seeing no further comments, I now declare the public hearing closed, 8:22 p.m.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Third order of business, public comments. These will be limited to 3 minutes. Members of the public may speak to the council or request an opportunity to speak on a specific item that is on the agenda, or may email comments for council to info@fairfield-me.gov by 4 p.m. day of meeting. Submitted content may be read aloud at this time. Do I have any of the members in the audience left that would like to speak on any item on the agenda?
I can stick them in.
We had nothing emailed in, so.
I only got one thing to read, and it might work. Oh, yeah, they will.
What'd she say?
My glasses broke, so I can't read anything.
Oh, you're all set?
I'm all good.
I didn't know if you had one you wanted to read.
No, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. We had a little sidebar going over here. I'm a little blind. It's okay. I'm just sitting here, my lenses are popping out. It's fine.
All right. Seeing no comments, we'll move on. Fourth order of business, town manager and committee reports. Town manager report.
All right. So on July 28th, I attended the Environmental Hazards Committee meeting. July 30th, attended the PFAS Fund Health and Wellness Advisory Meeting in Augusta. It's the first time the group's actually met in person, and it's, we believe, our final meeting. They've done some amazing work, looking for some stuff to come out regarding that. Well, they're reporting back to committee in a couple of months. There is more work being done, though, by DACF concerning heritage industries, so logging, fishing, and agriculture in the state. There's a health and wellness survey post that with a link to the survey on the town's Facebook page for those that are interested in providing feedback. The Department of Agriculture really wants folks that work within these industries to tell them what it is that they need for health and wellness services, because they would like to, they have some funding to be able to provide them. So it's a good piece. So yesterday on August 4th, attended the Economic Community Development meeting. Today, as I had said earlier, attended MMA's Legislative Policy Committee meeting in Augusta. Members from across the state with platform provided information on their potential platform for the next legislative session. The pursuit of alternative sources of revenue for municipalities, ensuring that existing levels of state funding do not decrease, funding for education, unfunded mandates, and the recent erosion of home rule authority, especially where it comes to specifics regarding housing development and the overrides they did for everybody's land use ordinances that now require rewrites. And while there's some money available for that, not all that was needed, so that specifically. And then just a little reminder, there's a ribbon cutting tomorrow at the Dollar General on Center Road at 3 p.m. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Any questions for Michelle? Any committee reports? Councilor Thibodeau, ECDC.
The Economic Committee met yesterday afternoon at Mill Island Park, The whole main point of us being at Mill Island was to discuss plans for a new playground. And we've been working or talking with Pine State Recreation out of Bangor. And they have a lot of different options for us to consider. We currently have $57,000 in our budget for playground. And all that's left at Mill Island is the swing set. So the themes that Pine State Recreation had were things like nature, music, the standard play sets that you'd see like in any playground. The committee decided it was better to start with something big, and then we could add smaller items as our budget would allow in years to come. So Michelle is going to be getting in contact with Pine State Recreation to give us some ideas for what we would like. Basically, a structure that would accommodate 0 to 12 years, have handicapped accessibility features. Was there something else, Michelle? The handicap, ADA.
And it had units that were towards the ground, so they didn't necessarily have to climb.
Right, and that would be more capable, more fitting for the younger kids, the 0 to 2 kind of thing. So we'll be waiting for their schematics on what the playing ground could look like, and from there, we'll make some decisions and then come back to the council. Basically, the area that we talked about would be inclusive of the swing set where it is now. We would also want to have another swing set that could accommodate a wheelchair. And then if you think of it as more of an almond or crescent shape, it would go from the swing set, go to in front of the parking lot to the tree where the bike rack is. So that would be with the concept for the new playground area for Mill Island. We also discussed the downtown redevelopment plan, and we are looking at the last meeting in September to present it to the whole council. So,
Great.
and that's 170 pages thereabout.
Thank you.
So there'll be some reading. Yeah.
Great.
It'll come with an overview.
And there'll be an overview. But you know, it's because I've read it thoroughly, the two drafts now, and the highlights of it are impressive. Something that the old downtown plan did not consider. The old plan was just the downtown Main Street area. What this plan incorporates is a broader look at what the downtown could be, a walkable downtown, focusing on not so much the small store owner and the shopping aspect, but more of a recreational brand for the town of Fairfield. And guiding that is going to be the Kennebec River District, which is something that has come up between Skowhegan, Fairfield, and Waterville. And it will give people a focus and a reason to come to Fairfield to increase our economy. Of course, there's a lot of things that have to happen also in our process. One of the things that when you get your copy to check, if you would really take a look at the objectives and who's responsible for doing things, there's a lot of onus for us as a council to make sure that this is going to get done and not just sit on a shelf. But it's a workable document. We divide it up into sections. So when you're talking about goals for next year and the years to come, your goals can be incorporated with what's in the downtown plan. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some years to see things happen. But it's a very impressive document.
Fantastic. Look forward to seeing it.
Thank you.
Any questions for Councilor Tiverton? Building Committee.
The Bill Committee's just waiting on Port City, the town manager and the two department heads on when they talk and when the next meeting will be.
Thank you. Dr. Townsend.
Hey, so the Environmental Committee met on July 28th. We met for 3 reps from SAPI. Our biggest discussion was how they handle their hazardous waste and then how it works with our waste disposal ordinance. Our waste disposal ordinance is over 40 years old and was meant for really back in the day when we had people using basically using gravel pits as landfills. So there had to be something to be done, but it has been updated since then. And some of the things that are in our ordinance, probably SAPI does not technically meet with hazardous materials going in, even though they are following all the DEP rules. So one of our big steps will be to move forward, updating our ordinance, working closely with the DEP to have a workable ordinance that is, one that can be continued to be expanded and continues to be, legitimate going forward. I think they do a great job of doing testing. One of the things we want to work strongly on is to make sure that testing is available to the council so that people can see what is being tested, what are those results, what is going on in the effluent, so it's those kind of collections. And so there's more transparency. And SAPI was very good about wanting to do that and try to find some workable form so that it can be easily accessed. And I think that's, they were really good partners in the process. They were really looking forward to working with us and updating that ordinance. And they, talked about their containment cells that we had approved earlier. We're probably going to go out there and get a good tour on that end, kind of going over the testing that they do. But so I thought it was a good first step. Again, that ordinance that we have in place that's 40 years old needs significant rewriting. But I think we're already trying to contact the DEP and try to set up some workshops on that end so we can have one that's a living document going forward. Thoughts on that, Kevin?
No, I think you covered it. I think the key is going to be to meet with DEP, and some of the things we discussed in the committee was we want to make sure that we are doing obviously the right thing, and we don't want SAPI writing our ordinance. We want the assistance of the DEP to make sure that we are in compliance with the DEP. So if DEP changes whatever, our ordinance will automatically change with it so that we don't have to update it every time there's a change. So we're going to be meeting with the DEP to discuss our situation as a town and how to integrate SAPI or hopefully in the future some other commercial business that might be in the same boat. So we're working it.
Max Kenny is in the audience. Max, do you have anything you want to add?
And the only additional thing I would add is the committee did ask the SAPI representatives how critical the landfill was for the overall mill operation, and they did indicate that it could be critical enough to the point where the mill would cease to operate if we did not continue to support the landfill operation. So it's a critical component, so we want to make sure that what we do as a community through our ordinance rewrite is palatable to SAPI, and that we can work together to ensure that the environmental concerns that our citizens have are addressed, but in a manner that doesn't put too much, put SAPI in jeopardy.
Good points. Thanks, Max.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you know about what hazardous materials you're looking for, or the definition. Everybody's in sync on what a hazardous material
So that'll be partly DEP will play a role in that. They have a whole set of definitions. They have all their items that they classify, and they also have hazardous waste. Some of the things that they would talk about would be things that are caustic, acidic. They also have special waste, which would be the ash and the sludge. So those would be things we will be working into our ordinance.
I asked that same question to them because there's over, in the report I had, there's over 40 things that DEP specifically calls out. And that's why we want to work with them, because they recently identified PFAS, or, all the chemicals, lack of a better term, that fall under PFAS or PFOS. They recently, in 2023, I think it was, classified that as toxic or hazardous. So it's kind of like what we talked about a little bit, semantics of the wording, but also making sure that what you just asked, that it makes sense, and going back to what Matt talked about, making sure we're seeing those test results, because DEP audits, but we're the stewards of it, so to speak. It's within our town lines.
Years
so
ago, the book that, when they would come for their renewal for their permit, was that thick.
It still is.
And just the section on the chemicals and the waste and everything, it was extensive.
Michelle corrected me. It's that.
We
I went
actually,
into-
we received 2 4-ring
yeah,
binders.
that's-
I went in
for
to
every
read it.
license
I went in,
renewal.
I thought I was
It's
going to
not-
be a smart guy and go in and read it before the last year's one, and Michelle's like, okay, here you go. And I'm like, I'm good.
But that is the stuff that we want to at least look through those results and condense it so that people can understand and see those reports. So I think it's important going forward. One little side bit from, I guess, the Environmental Committee would be a finding from the EPA. Basically, I'll just summarize this. When the risk of PFAS contamination from sludge spreading was not significant. So that will make our lives probably more difficult going forward by saying all that damage to PFAS wells, contaminated wells, came from sludge. The EPA is saying now, probably not really that important. So obviously we see how some organizations follow science and some don't, but that's going to make our job more difficult going forward.
Thank you, guys. Any other questions? Ice rink will meet Monday,
10th,
August 10th, 6 o'clock, right here, council chambers. The 250th, we met last night. Well, 4 of the council members were here. We're pretty informal. We just went over, things that went well, things we could improve on, types of ideas. Very well recepted by everybody. We had a good turnout. They would like to continue it next year, back in the Fairfield days. We will meet November 17th at 6 p.m. To discuss possible dates, again, locations, what we may like to do differently. At the end of the meeting, we're supposed to bring up, possibly doing a survey from our residents to get some more feedback from them, possibly at our November election, have a table out and discuss some of those things where the public can help us out a little more, delegate some more authority and split up the duties a little better.
There's more volunteers.
Yep.
And that's crucial.
The overall reception was great. Chief Gould was here, feedback from him and his staff, they thoroughly enjoyed it. So that was the big thing. We didn't want to put a burden on our staff, and doesn't seem we did, so.
Yeah, I got a lot of comments from the vendors from the craft fair. They say if it happens next year, they're in.
Friday night was very well. Everybody raved about Friday, from the music, the parade, the fireworks, just very well run and organized. So there's some things we can build on. All right, fifth order of business, consent agenda. These items are considered routine or standard business and therefore will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member requests prior to consideration of this portion of the agenda, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered next on the agenda. Item 26-86, order the Fairfield Town Council hereby waives the reading of and accepts the minutes for meeting number 2026-12 held on July 8, 2026. Item 26-87, order that the Fairfield Town Council hereby approves the treasurer's warrant number 137 for the fiscal year 25-26 in the amount of $8,431.92 to include but not limited to Dirigo Engineering, Aflac, Fred's Coffee, Amazon Capital Services, and treasurer's warrant number 60 for fiscal year 26-27 in the amount of $157,421.96 to include but not limited to Central Maine Power, Maine Municipal Employee Health, motor vehicle fees, and RJD appraisal.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lawrence, second by Councilor Townsend.
I have a question.
Sir?
On item 2686, it says down bottom for the minutes of the meeting on 2026-12 held on July 8th of 2026. The minutes in front of me says 2613. held on July 22nd, 2026. So it's the date's wrong.
So I'm going to reread that. We need to correct that. Item 26-86 should be read as, or the Fairfield Town Council hereby waives the reading of and accepts the minutes for the meeting of 2026-13 held on July 22nd, 2026. Okay, to approve that.
I approve that, yep.
Okay. Second, Dr. Townsend.
Second.
Motion's amended and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous, 5-0. Sixth order of business, old council business, EMS update, no new update.
There was in the
Travis-
monthly
Travis had some
monthly
notes
report,
in
there is some updates that are in there, though. At the time this was put together, we didn't have anything, but it looks like they're getting close to having everything together for the second ambulance, as well as they're starting interviews for the 2 positions next week, so that'll be good.
The process is definitely developing.
Yes.
Seventh order of business, to take action on the following items of business. Item 26-88, order the Fairfield Town Council hereby adopts the 2026 Fairfield School Affordable Housing Municipal Development and Tax Increment Financing District, Fairfield School AHTIF District, and Development Program.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Thibodeau, second by Councilor Lawrence. We beat this one up pretty good earlier.
I think it's a great step forward. The only thing I will say is that my wife, Diane Townsend, is the Executive Director of Waterville Housing Authority. They will be the property manager, so I will recuse myself from the vote on that end. But I still support the project.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? 4, all opposed? 0, 1 abstention.
Yep.
Item 26-89, order the Fairfield Town Council authorize the town manager to submit nominations for the offices of Vice President and Economic Committee members 3 for the Maine Municipal Association, MMA.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lawrence, second by Councilor Thibodeau. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous, 5-0.
There's 3 people running, 3 positions.
Eighth order of business, council workshop and other business, discuss town council goals.
Thanks. We put this back on here for you because when we left our last meeting, we didn't really have any direction for you as to what you would like us to do with this document. And how you would like it to be. Because one, what you usually do after you're finished revising it, you officially adopt it as an action item. We weren't sure if you were done with it from the last meeting. Do you want us to update it with your changes and remove some of the old stuff? Do you want to?
We were done with it, but we got them at the beginning of this meeting. They all wound up in Council Lawrence's bin, so.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah. Have not had the opportunity to go through
There's
them.
nothing different.
There's nothing different in them, really, than what you had last week, because we didn't really come out of that meeting with anything really different. You had some great conversation, but not as it relates to the actual document itself. So we knew tonight was going to be a little heavy, anticipated that tonight would be heavy. So we kind of put this on there, whether you want to think about it. We've done this a couple of different ways in the past where we've had each counselor send us the existing document and highlight the things that they think are the top ones, or if there's something in addition to. So we make sure we give you a final document that you then in turn can just amend that document and then approve it as needed, or we just didn't know how you want to handle it.
Well, if you take a look on Standard 2, for the goals, update social media systems and enhance town website usability, that needs to be taken out.
Right.
Because we've already done that. That's done. To collaborate with the Maine Department of Transportation to improve roadways and traffic patterns. There's nothing happening for this coming year. I mean, they've already did the 201 changeover with the bike lane and all that, so that actually could come out. To collaborate with neighboring municipalities for producing cost saving, that needs to stay in there, because we're still currently working on our mutual aid agreements with the fire department. So something, that needs to stay. To participate in the annual Somerset County Caucus, that is a given. And to collaborate with KVCC and Colby and Thomas College for training opportunities. I think instead of collaborate, we need to say to encourage collaboration, because right now we really have only the Public Works going to some of their big tractor training sessions. But is there room for other things that could happen? The highlighted part is really the only thing that came out of the last meeting for what we had talked about, and I thank you for highlighting that. So that people will know when the school board is meeting, we can at least put it on our calendar. That, to me, is a good goal to have, and especially to monitor to see if that's going to make a difference. If you look down at to promote positive communication with citizens through postings, website, that's another given. To keep abreast, I think we need to put in there, either delete that whole thing, because all of these ad hoc committees now, they're part of the agenda anyways. And so people are going to get it. Do we want to keep that in there? I don't know if you want to keep that there for insurance reasons or just, but we need to think about that. Working in transparency, I mean, you always have to work on that. So to me, that's something that should stay there. It's, and we had a good evidence of that tonight.
Let's touch on that one first for a minute. Because I don't know how anything we do, always in a public setting, can be any more transparent than we try to be. What I took out of a lot of the information tonight is people don't read their mail. Some people don't use social media. Some people don't have TV. Some people don't stream. People don't buy the newspaper. Information is out there if they want access to it in many, many different forms. And other than what we talked about on even a monthly or a quarterly letter and finding the money to be able to send that out, it doesn't mean they're going to read it. You put it in a mailer that goes
And you
to
can't
every
control
postal.
that.
And that's what I mean. But as far as transparent, Councilor Kitchen mentioned, our meetings are taped. We're very open. We listen. We absolutely do listen. I'm doing my very best not to cut people off as much as I used to.
Even asked to put in locations that are
To post. We used to
another
post I remember seeing them down at Dow's on the door. We used to post when there was going to be a public hearing in some of the stores. I think the pharmacy had one.
It must have been a long time ago because most of them don't really allow it anymore. So we list where we do our postings, and it's the post offices. It's on the
municipal
agenda.
buildings.
Is that part of the ordinance?
Yeah, all municipal buildings on
Post office,
website.
social media.
Yeah, because
inside
they
the
used
town
to
office.
do it at stores, and I think that's what Dee Dee was referring to.
And most of them don't have the space anymore for it. It's just
Well,
not.
the stores, now that they're chains, I can tell you Irving
They won't do
and
it.
C.N. Brown wouldn't allow us to.
You used to be able to put our town reports
Yeah,
in the
can't
stores
do
too,
that
and a
anymore.
lot of them, you can't do that anymore.
We
either.
had Center
They won't
General
take them.
Store, that was a posting place
Yep,
for the
yep,
center.
that's right.
Maybe
Yep.
the Grange could be, but again, you're really limiting. I heard Village Market. A lot of center people just don't come in town. So again, we could put it in every space imaginable. Doesn't mean they're going to read it. They have to have a concerned interest. Like tonight, obviously, your tax bill is going to drive it. But even then, the education process on what is driving your tax rates, very hard even tonight to explain that the two articles presented on the table have a minuscule impact. The rest of the budget's already passed. The things that drove our mill rates, the school and fire and Delta, I mean, they're already passed. And we're struggling on,
Because a lot of the residents still think we control all that.
yeah.
a lot of it's out of control.
No, but again, we had another concerned resident tonight that doesn't like transparency or they think they're doing things behind closed doors. We don't have private meetings. And we do everything above board. If three of us are even going to go knock on doors, we let people know. It's not like we're trying to do things in secret, but, to the people that are watching, I would say if you do have a question, every one of our emails and phone numbers are available. You can call. We're still all one vote individually, every single one of us. The town manager is extremely knowledgeable about the things they're going to have questions on. Call, leave a message, or write an email to Michelle's email. She'll get you those answers. Somebody at town office most likely is going to try to help out as well. But the whole process, I love the referendum vote just because the turnout was there. We didn't have 40 or 50 people determining our budget. And like the result or not, I like the process much better. And our education process, I don't know how we can be any more transparent. The problem is like anything. If there's something you want to complain about, all you got to do is find somebody that agrees with you. Whether the information is incorrect or not, that's what you're going to focus on. And that's how things work. That's society. We find somebody with like interests, and that's what we're driven to. So I don't know how we could possibly do more on that goal. I don't know how we can be more transparent, put more information out than we currently do. I'm frustrated to know that we talk about the same things over and over and over again. And even if it's not explained well by one of us, somebody else will take the ball and run with it, put it in a different perspective. And it's just not driving home. I don't know how to educate the taxpayer.
Yeah, so anyways, it should, that second goal should remain in there. The annual town budget meeting, that, we need to put that as a public hearing now, because that's been changed. So that needs
Always
to
been that way.
change.
We've always had a public hearing since we've called it the annual town budget meeting.
Right, but now we don't have a budget meeting anymore, we have a budget hearing.
Nope.
No?
You do.
We still do?
You still do. So even if you vote referendum, the annual town budget meeting is always going to be the annual.
Okay, so that would be the hearing, because
So
it's just
you have a hearing
syntactical.
and you have the election.
Yeah.
If you do both.
Okay,
But
so
it's
that,
always
the wording in that is okay then.
Yeah.
Goals for standard one, that's what is in the charter, basically. And those are our responsibilities. If you take a look at standard number 3, we do need to add in there, it says including but not limited to. I really would like to see implementation of the downtown redevelopment program added to that, because that will be coming up next month. So if we could add that to it.
What would you like?
To oversee the planning and implementation of key projects that will attract future investment, including but not limited to, and it mentions those 4 items there. The Hinckley Boathouse project really is not our concern. We don't own the boathouse.
That's right.
In Hinckley, so that really should come out, but we need to add the downtown redevelopment plan to number 1.
But we could make sure that there's a broad statement in here that you want to make sure you continue to work with these regional partners, right? Is that in here? I think it is in here.
Are you referring to the Hinckley Boathouse project?
No, just
The
projects in
Central Maine
general.
Growth Council is mentioned in the
Yeah,
standard.
in the standard.
Yeah. Yeah, but these are projects that are going to be indicative of our future. And I feel strongly that it should be written in there.
So would you like to call out, because the downtown's in that first bullet point, do you want to call that out separately?
Yes, I do.
Okay, that's what.
Because your
Separate
goals are
those.
going, once you see the document, which you haven't seen yet.
Right.
You're going to see that you're going to want to make some goals for the future of the town, based on what's in there. And that's why I think it's for us to be more transparent.
Oh, yeah, so I just want to try, because it has a downtown in there,
Yeah.
so you want to call that one out separately.
Yes, I do. Yeah. Then, if you go to the next page, if you look into progress, something got lost in the cropping. The Economic and Community Development Committee, in conjunction with the Central Maine Growth Council, completed and Town Council adopted the Mill Island. Change that up.
Yep.
I think the Mill Island Park redevelopment plan should go after completed, and then the Town Council adopted the plan. But other than that, and that was a quick read just from before the meeting started. Standard 4 is basically out of the comprehensive plan. And, but that's basically it. My changes that I think we should be more focused on for goals.
So what we can do is we can work that all up for you for a document, get you basically your final version. It'll go on as another discussion item, so you can make sure it's exactly what you want. If anybody has any other specific changes to any one specific line in this, email me so we can make sure that that gets done before your next meeting. And that way we can have that draft ready for you so that you can get this to the point where you actually adopt these goals and it's not just conversation.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
Any other questions? Okay, other council business, Council Thibodeau.
I have nothing.
Council Kitchen.
I got a couple things. This was a random thought during the meeting. The state of Maine just changed excise tax for RVs. Is that going to impact us quite a bit?
Yes. It'll be another revenue loss.
Do we have an idea, estimated revenue?
Not off the top of my head. Only because of the fact that you don't know how many people still currently own RVs, but you have to figure that if you went from paying on a motorhome that was worth $54,000.
I was paying like $2,000 a year.
Yeah, and now you're
That's why I
going to
sold
pay,
it.
how long is it?
43 feet.
Yeah, so I think I don't even know I can't tell you off the top of my head.
I just saw that and I'm
It's
like,
dollars
holy cow,
compared
that could be,
to thousands.
That could be a lot of revenue.
It's
that
going to
we're
be a
missing out
revenue
on.
loss, and it's not, it's across the entire state, but yeah. Like, if you don't mind, we'll use yours, because technically motor vehicle information is confidential. It's one of the few things we have. I'll use yours. We'll do the comparison. We can report back to you at the next meeting what kind of loss that is.
You don't have it.
I'll be fully transparent. You can't use mine because I never registered it because I said I'm not paying $2,000. I'll take the $500 fine.
Well, you can
and then-
register it now.
And then I sold it.
All right. Well, do you have what the information on it was, and I can use it as an example?
Yep.
Okay.
You can make a fake.
Yeah, make them all.
I can make a fake one.
Yeah.
Like got a fake comparison and let you know.
I saw that and I'm like, ouch.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
True confessions.
It's not.
True
it's not good.
confessions. Bad boys.
Transparency.
So that's that whole piece where the LPC is like, let's stop. Let's have the state stop taking our few revenues we have away from us because there's no other way to make it up,
Yeah.
right?
And then I had, what did I do with it? Town manager's report. I wanted to call out a couple things here. One, from the fire chief, talking about losing Gary Pullen. I think that's a good read on what he gave to our community. And again, I encourage our residents to go in there and it's part of the council document. It's online. To take a read at this.
So you got a town manager's report?
What's that?
I can get one.
It's the monthly manager's update.
I should have gotten all your stuff tonight.
I'm not going to read it, but it's very, I commend Chief for calling him out. Please, and I'll just read what he last said. Please take a moment to remember Gary. If you had the pleasure of knowing him, he'll be missed by many. And then the other thing I have in here to read
I think I was given 2 copies. There you go.
was from, and this is a shameless plug, but I think somebody, some people, preparations are underway for the Glow Ride, which is scheduled for August 15th and it's expected to pass through Fairfield between approximately 8:15 and 8:30, so that's the parade. The planned route will bring participants north on Main Street from Waterville through downtown Fairfield to the Western Avenue intersection. Riders will continue along Western Avenue, briefly regroup at KVCC parking lot, then cross the interstate bridge and travel up Center Road to the base of Pung Hill. The route then crosses Norwood Road, proceeds along Old Center Road, and we will get on the Grange Rail, the Grange Trail system there. So hopefully our residents get to see, kind of going back on the goals, what that community has the potential to bring for economic development to our town. Last year, the ATV Club had 380 plus machines. If we even get half of that this year, it's still going to be a heck of a parade. And I want to thank Fairfield Police Department for helping us with that. With the traffic control, they're going to be at the event doing some community outreach. I spoke to them today. They have some things in the works for kids, and they got some stuff that they're going to give away. So again, our public service is phenomenal here between the fire department and the police department, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor Lawrence?
Because I know we mentioned last night about a survey for residents to do for next year's event. So I'm just wondering, we're going to draft one up.
So my understanding from that was we were talking about having people at the table and asking people as they
Right.
left.
We need a form there to show them, so this is what we're proposing or your ideas. We just can't sit there saying this. People just walk right by, but we need a document.
And that's if we have room. I'm not saying that we won't, but generally for a larger election like that, we have poll watchers, we have petitioners on the ends of the polling location. We may have room for a table for you guys. If not, maybe we can create a doodle poll and send it out.
Because you're not allowed to interact.
Because usually
with anybody
there's a
when they're waiting
table,
for the polls.
a table by the back door after people vote where petitioners, you sign a petition for that. That's
Yeah.
what we were discussing.
If there's room, usually, from what I understand, prior years, they're made to sit outside, but obviously November, I don't want people to be out there freezing. So the end of that area is really tight, and we can't interfere with voters leaving.
It would have to be, yeah.
Yeah, and you can't interfere with them coming in.
I like
So
the idea of a doodle poll.
we could do a doodle poll, you guys can draft questions, then we can kind of,
Can't use Doodle anymore because it's not free.
we can
But
find
then we can
something.
find a
We
platform
can
to
use
do a poll.
Google, I think there's a Google option too. But yeah, you guys can draft questions and send them to us, and we can do an online
We should work on that.
poll.
Okay. Thank you.
Be a good thing for that committee to work on.
Councilor Townsend?
I don't have too much to say. I think the biggest one is just actually what you mentioned a few minutes ago, Tim, was the fact that I think this council is very open to ideas and to criticism and self-reflection and improvement. And so our numbers are all there. I'll give mine. Mine is 207-877-4862. It's there on the website. There it is. You can call me. You can text me. We are open. We are transparent. We want to serve. So that's why in this kind of situation, I want us to continue to get feedback. And we are all open. I want to reiterate that we are very receptive to people's thoughts.
Go back on that, because I do attend the Constance Park. One of them I attend because I do get nailed at in Constance Park. Constantly sit there with my wife trying to enjoy a night. Constantly get nailed by residents. So.
That's what we
Public
signed up
service.
for. I would say, answer questions to the best knowledge you can. If you don't
I'm
have
going to
the
start
right
going
answer,
more then,
say-
so I can get some more of those questions.
Just say, I don't know, and I'll get you the right answer. That's the best answer you can give if you get put on the spot. Michelle's never not answered my call, so, and I get the same answer from her. I don't know, let me get right back to you. So I think we are very transparent, and we do want input from our citizens. The only thing I'm going to reiterate again tonight is public hearing was for two specific articles that didn't pass. Very minimal increases on both of those articles. They're two very vital parts of our budget that we do need to get passed, and we do need to make a tax commitment, so I hope people will show up. I know we may have one more meeting or two more meetings before that vote, but again, I hope people that have questions that don't really know how the process works, don't just get upset with what you hear from hearsay. Call and get the right answers, and if we don't have it, we'll do our due diligence to make sure we get it. But I think on those two articles, they're pretty cut and dry. We know where we're at, we know what we've done, and we've nailed them down as much as we can. They're both vital services to our town, and the things that they're upset about have already been passed. They're already part of the budget. There's no correcting that at this point in the process, and we will continue to work on ways and listen to the public and their ideas on what we can cut, if anything, or find additional revenue to offset some of those expenses. And that's probably the hardest part that we do as a council, because we're so limited on what, other than property values, what we can raise. So we do set our fees, our permit fees. We look at those every year to make sure we're in line. I don't have a lot more to add. I hope people will show up and pass the budget. I think between the council, town manager, and the budget committee, we've put a lot of heads in it and torn those two articles apart and got them down as bare bones as we possibly can. So appreciate your support and hope you can show up and vote for those two articles. All right, ninth order of business, no executive section. Next regular meeting of the Fairfield Town Council will be on Wednesday, August 19th, 2026, to be held as a hybrid meeting in council chambers and via Zoom at 6:30 p.m. At this time, council will recess, sign documents that require the signature of council members.
I'll make a motion to recess.
Second.
Motion by Council Lawrence, second by Council Thibodeau.
Was he
Peter?
at home or?
And I think we got Stephanie as a
And you think
second.
so? Is-
9:10.
She's like,
Thank you, kids.
yeah.